domain experts, from the practitioners. PhD Chamber has created this program so that we, like, as part of the corporate entity, and also as our emerging leaders who are sitting with us, can understand the nuts and bolts that how the agenda can be, unfurled, or it can be fulfilled in any corporate entity. So without any ado, I'll request the speakers of this session to kindly come on the dais. Professor Hina Bijli, Mr. R.S. Dabas, Mr. Ashish Viga, our chair. Please come, sir. Thank you. And before officially starting this event, I'll request everybody to kindly stand up or rise for the national anthem, please. पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जगति तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे। Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we know that the COVID-19 pandemic and many other social movements that have happened in the past, it has led many leaders to reassess their relationship with the employees. And organizations in diverse sectors, as like in retail, technology, hospitality, even like in IT segment, in fact, in each and every service industry as well as manufacturing industry, now the leaders are trying to align their workforce, which actually represents better and broader in terms of having diverse employees from different nationalities, from different classes, from different genders, from different even sexual orientations. And these organizations are now trying to make a very important priority wherein everyone feel welcomed as well as included, wherein what we call as inclusive workforce. So in the wake of major social and political changes over the past decades, it has led many companies to take steps to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion within the workforce. Although there are a lot of programs, but yet the speed of these programs is somewhat lukewarm. It is somewhat slow. And in fact, programs which are designed to increase diversity and inclusion in the workforce, most of the time they fail. It has been seen. So this leads to a natural question that what actually works, in the sense like what leaders or what ecosystems we need to nurture, what ecosystems we need to curate so that we have a diverse and inclusive workforce within the organization. So it is a time wherein there has to be a conversation around the inclusion and diversity to take this as a human-centric approach rather than just a number game, because it's just about the people. So in order to understand the dynamics, we have in fact curated two very important sessions with host of domain experts who are the practitioners in their organizations to dwell on this topic. And without any further ado, I'll request Mr. Ashish Vik, the chair for HRIR committee at PhD Chamber, to kindly start the proceedings with his welcome address and inaugural remarks. Over to you, Mr. Vik.
Thank you, Dr. Jitendra Singh, friends on the dais, friends in the audience, and we have some friends joining us virtually. Very, very warm welcome to you all. And we have Miss Helen, I think she's joining us from the UK. Very warm welcome. आवाज नहीं आ रही.
And you need to unmute.
Okay. As Dr. Singh has just mentioned, मैं वैसे हिंदी और इंग्लिश में बोलूँगा. I feel comfortable in that, and I think if you all permit. Dr. Singh ने अभी बताया कि this particular topic is most relevant, most important, और हम सबको ये समझने की बहुत ज़रूरत है कि इसकी importance क्या है. You all must have read of late. In fact, I was reading in the Economic Times a day or two earlier. कि India is slated to grow to 7%. The economy is slated to grow to 7%. Mr. Mukesh Ambani has said that he anticipates the economy to go to $40 billion by 2047. Mr. Gautam Adani has also echoed the similar sentiments. The Employees Provident Fund organization in their look ahead policy has also mentioned that they see a drastic increase in the number of subscribers, members. ये क्या दिखाता है? ये दिखाता है कि हमारी इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ बहुत ज्यादा होने वाली है. तो अगर इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ होने वाली है, then we have to be at par with regard to the employee benefits. When we talk about employee benefits, we talk about having a parity, having inclusive growth, having an umbrella where we can give confidence to them, because this is directly proportional to their performance and the performance of the particular unit. This goes for all verticals, be it service sector, be it manufacturing sector, FMG, you name it and it's there. अभी तक इसमें इतनी importance हमने देखी नहीं. The government is now taking a lot of initiatives. You must have been aware that CBI has said that one director out of many has to be a lady. There is a lot of emphasis on having differently abled people in the system. ये चीजें हमने अभी देखी नहीं थी अपनी economic growth में. Before I give you a little more highlights, what I feel is important, I don't know if many of you have come into the chamber earlier. We are one of the oldest chambers in the country, starting from 1905. That means more than 115 years old we are, young we are. We have a very robust system of working. We have a lot of committees which are specialist committees comprising of people from the industry. जैसे चेंबर्स होते हैं, हम एक एपेक्स चेंबर है और हमारा काम है इंडस्ट्री और गवर्नमेंट के बीच में इंटरफेस करने का. आप में से काफी एक्सपर्ट्स हैं in this field. Our request would be, as we do, as a norm is, come out with your suggestions, come out with your observations of the various topics that you are attending in the chamber, not only today, but in days to come. so that when we formulate our recommendation to the governments, they are incorporated. काफी यंगस्टर्स हैं, ये आने वाली जो हमारी मैनेजमेंट होगी उसमें शामिल होंगे. आप लोगों को समझना ज्यादा जरूरी है. You have to understand what the importance is of these various programs that we have. You will understand what DEI means: diversity, equity and inclusion. अपने अपने नजरिए से आप इसको देखेंगे, अपने अपने तजुर्बे से आप इसको देखेंगे, और I'm sure you will incorporate it as you move forward in your lives, to not only look into the progress of your particular industry, but overall growth of the nation. Prime Minister का tag word सबका विकास, ये बहुत important है. सबका विकास तभी होगा जब हम ये तीन चीजों को समझेंगे, इन तीन चीजों को अपनाएंगे. We have to understand another two words: for some. For some is not SUM, it is SOME. For some and for all. When we understand this, जब हम इस चीज को समझेंगे तो हम सारी पॉपुलेशन को लेके आगे आएंगे, और जब पॉपुलेशन इंक्लूड होगी हमारे में तो हमारी तरक्की होगी. We are today placed at a very high position as far as the world economy goes, and we have to try and be the number one, which can happen. We are, I think, what, 130 crores, if not 150 crores. Somebody told me other day कि साहब आप 130 करोड़ की बात करते हैं, actually तो ये 150 करोड़. तो हम जब इतनी बड़ी फिगर्स की बात कर रहे हैं तो हम क्यों पीछे रह जाएं? You must be also seeing a lot of MNCs coming in. Now they are coming in with already these things in their system. When we are to compete, we have to also adopt it. As you know, कोई भी opportunity success आती है तो challenges साथ में आते हैं. चाहे हम घर की बात करें, चाहे हम बाहर सोसाइटी की बात करें, चाहे हम इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट की बात करें. अब हमारे देश में सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है, हमारे यहाँ बहुत ज्यादा डाइवर्सिफिकेशन है. लैंग्वेजेस की बात कर लीजिए, हम अगर डिफरेंट बैकग्राउंड्स की बात कर लें, ये हमें चैलेंजेस फेस करने हैं. And like I said earlier, everybody has a different concept of working. Everybody will have a different mindset, but the common goal has to be the same. The common goal has to be working with everybody together. We cannot anymore afford to have differentiation. जो शायद पहले हुआ करता था, अब वो नहीं होगा, अब वो नहीं होना चाहिए. और ये हमारा एक कर्तव्य भी है, ये हमारा एक दायित्व भी है, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी है. We all are responsible to the progress of the country. Actually, I've been given a 3-4 page speech, as is the norm. I'm not going to do that because we have experts with us. And I'm sure Dr. Singh has this in the agenda of a Q&A, which is a set format, because we want to listen to you. The experts would like to come back to you on your queries, on your observations. This should not be just another target in our lives, in our business environment. Just another target नहीं होना चाहिए. हमें इसको अचीव करना है, एंड कॉन्शियसली अचीव करना है. मैं ज्यादा बोलूंगा नहीं. मैं कार में आते आते मुझे 2 लाइन ध्यान में आई, I'll share with you. अगर आसमां को जिद है बिजली गिराने की, अगर आसमां को जिद है बिजली गिराने की, तो हमें भी जिद है आशियाना यहाँ बनाने की. So this is very important. हमें अपने देश में अपने आदमियों के साथ आशियाना बनाना है. आशियाना तो आप लोग समझते हैं, ये इम्पोर्टेंट है. और इसके साथ एक लाइन और जोड़ देता हूँ, विच इज नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस. तो तेरा हाथ हाथ में हो अगर, तो सफर ही असले हयात है. हमारे हर कदम पे है मंजिले, तेरा साथ जो मेरे साथ है. अब इसके आगे आप लोग सब चुप बैठे हैं, तो मेरे बात का मेरे हम सफर तू जवाब दे के ना दे मुझे, तेरी एक चुप में जो है छुपी हजार बात की वो बात. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you, Mr. Vik, for a very, very motivating inaugural address, and your keywords like in fact, the change of mindset for some to for all. This is the essence of this conference also, wherein we need to talk of inclusion, we need to talk about diversity, and also we need to talk about how to reduce inequality within the workforce. Now, to take it forward, we are joined with Ms. Harita Gupta. I'll just read the brief profile of Harita ji. Harita ji is the Global Head Enterprise Business at Sutherland, and she is leading the business for ITS services across 4 large geographies. Harita joined Sutherland as a Global Head of the Enterprise Business in 2017, and she brings in 3 decades of vast global experience in the digital and IT services sector. In her current role, the focus is to establish Sutherland as the true digital transformation and innovation partner for the customers. Prior to Sutherland, she worked for Microsoft India, where she led the growth of the customer service and support operations for enterprise customers across India and Greater China. She started her career at NIT Technologies and managed various portfolios and technology centers of excellence. Post-pandemic, she is leading her teams to explore new businesses and new work models. Harita is a master's graduate from IIT Delhi and lives with her husband in Gurgaon. Very passionate about CSR, she drives innovative projects in her current role and also volunteers to NGOs. Welcome, Harita ji, for your presence. It's online presence. Thank you very much for sparing your time. I request you to kindly share your perspective with the august audience, please. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you, Mr. Vik. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Okay, and my apologies for not being with you, but I'm going to be very candid. I'm sitting in Bangalore. I got an invite at the last week from the office of the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, and he was hosting an event in Bangalore, to attract investments in Madhya Pradesh from the IT and ITES companies. And a little bit about my company, Sutherland. It's a global company based in Rochester, New York. And we have actually set up a center in Bhopal during the pandemic. So it just made, I needed to be here in Bangalore to see him and have a one-on-one with him. And which is why I couldn't be there in person with you. So my apologies. But my learning out of the last 2 days of interaction with him, his ministers and his leadership was that today in the area of D&I, there's no right or wrong. Of course, there are policies, there's governance and all of that, but is there a right or wrong? Maybe not. So let me talk to you a little bit about my experience. So Sutherland today, we have about 50,000 people worldwide, but I'm personally accountable for 40,000 of those. So I have about 20,000 people in India, and we have about 20,000 people in the Philippines. And as a leader, when I took over this role in January of 2020, I never realized that the pandemic was going to hit. Nobody knew it. So there was no rule book. And of course, we had all the policies and the good things around POSH and D&I and women leadership and so on and so forth. But I think the pandemic really gave us an opportunity, and it changed the rules of the game and got at least a leader like me to question what we've been doing all these years. We're a 36-year-old company. And we started with defining three things. Everybody was working from home. So there needed to be some baseline which would unite the team. And we said there are three things we wanted to do. Number one, we wanted every individual in our team, which is our 20,000 people in India, to lead with a growth mindset. And having worked for Microsoft, Satya Nadella is a huge fan of the growth mindset, which is to say, question the normal and always look at what can be done differently and can be done better, because there were really, again, no rule books. Pandemic hit. The second was, we are a people business. And if you look at it, every business in the world today is a people business. Yes, we have artificial intelligence and digital to help us, but at the heart of it, you're serving the human being. And so as a leader, really, really important to lead with compassion and put yourself in the place of the individual. And I think as a leader, that's really what worked for me very well and for my leadership. And the third was that digital as an enabler, just make sure that, the equity angle of the DEI is even strengthened further, because digital is a huge equalizer. I use the same Zoom as you do. I may have a slightly better laptop, but that's about it. So using digital as a great equalizer for your workforce is really, really important. So I think these three mantras: go with a growth mindset, always remember you're a people business and start with compassion, and third, use digital to do things faster, better, and cheaper. And it was very interesting because, when I started out this role in Jan 2020, as I said, I had grown up in the industry with the words D and I. So it was always diversity and inclusion. We added another angle, which was equity. And let me give you examples of, what equity really means. And as I said, there is no rule book. It is what you think equity as a leader should really mean. So I'll give you an example. We had, we are a BPO company and IT company. So we work 24/7. And we had this strange rule which said that women cannot come to the office on their own. They needed to be picked up in a cab and dropped. And you know what happened in the pandemic, right? We were all working from home, but as we started to come back, the transport companies didn't have enough drivers because the drivers had moved back to their villages, etc., etc. And then we questioned the norm with my HR leader, Renu, and I said, women are equal today, and if they are, riding their cars or their bikes or whatever it is, what is the reason that we have a 30-year-old policy that a woman cannot come on her own? And so we changed that. And one by one, we started looking at all the policies, which were just there. And nobody had reviewed those. So another, policy we reviewed was that if you're working from home, we actually enabled people with chairs. And that was equity. We shipped chairs from our offices to the workforce, because we knew that a lot of people didn't have the right furniture at home to work from home. So I think the E in the DEI is something for each of us in our organizations to define in the context of the organization. And I would really urge all the leaders here to say that, when we started doing this, again, there was no right or wrong. And I had to really take the entire leadership with me to say that, yes, we were doing the right thing. So really, I think, and then of course, we, in Sutherland, I also am the chairperson for an organization called WIL, which is the Women in Leadership Forum. And what we did is we've actually created an app which you can download on, anybody can download on the iPhone or on your Android device. And as a young aspiring woman or a lady, you can actually go and get mentored by some of the best mentors around in India. And so it's for the initial training, it's absolutely free. You can log on the app, you can take standard trainings, and then get mentored and grow. And finally, one of the other things that we really invested in was people with disabilities. We found that when people were working from home, the disabilities, we could actually hire people with disabilities, train them and get them to work. So we ran two projects, Project Echo and Project Lighthouse. As the Project Lighthouse suggests, we hired people who had visual disabilities. And in Chennai, we've hired people with visual disabilities. We created the ecosystem for everything that they need on their computer and the software to do the BPO job. Because even if they had the visual disability, they could still do the voice work. They could take the voice call from the customer and service the customer. And we did this for Amazon, because Amazon is a large customer for us. And the customer is so happy with the outcome. And then we ran Project Echo, where we hired people who had speech and hearing disability. And because they had the speech and hearing, they were not good enough to do the voice work, but they could do chat and email. So, if you have an issue, you chat, let's say, with a customer agent, and they could do the chat. So across Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bhopal, we've been hiring people with disabilities. And I think that's a huge equalizer again. And so, as I said, if you lead with your heart and make sure that you believe as a leader in DEI, then you define the course for your organization. And I would just pause at that and say that's been my personal experience. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Sarita. In fact, we have touched upon very important three pivotal points. The three mantras you have explained, and also the word equity, which is definitely a must thing, which is normally a sort of missing link in the entire this DI agenda. So I think you have also incited many of we have in fact in participation we have many women workforce also, many girls from some of the B schools also, and I'm sure that there must be a lot of understanding and awakening, and the app that you have created I'm sure that they will get immense benefit out of it in terms of getting coaching and mentorship. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I would like to have our next domain expert, Ms. Helen C. Shelton, MS. She is the Global Chief Diversity Officer at Finn Partners. I'll just read a brief profile. Helen Shelton is the Global Chief Diversity Officer at Finn Partners. She created the firm's award-winning Action Speak Louder program in service to its 1,300 employees and strategic partners around the world to advance DEI at Finn Partners and for its clients across multiple business sectors. At Finn, Helen leads a 100% DEI committee, managing 4 strategic pillars, that is inclusion and employee engagement. Second is the volunteerism and civic engagement. Third is recruitment and higher education. And fourth one is the thought leadership. In addition, Helen is the head of multicultural marketing and is responsible for consumer engaging programs for a variety of sectors with a particular expertise in health, technology, and consumer goods. Helen is a passionate and dedicated DEI strategist, serving as a trusted point of counsel for corporations and brands facing DEI challenges and crises both internally and externally. She works tirelessly in the industry, not only to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in both the corporate and non-profit sectors, but also to advance important causes ranging from health and education disparities, domestic violence, voter education, and access to the arts and culture for underserved communities, disparate unemployment, health disparities, and disease awareness initiatives. She is named as one of the 25 most influential Black women in business by the Network Journal magazine. Helen is a 2021 inductee into the PR Week Hall of Fame, trustee of PRSA Foundation, and a director of the New York Urban League. She is a member of the social service women's organization, the Links, and a charter member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, which is it is an incorporated organization. Helen is a graduate of Dartmouth College and holds an MS degree from Boston University. She is featured in the seminal book Diverse Voices and regularly writes about the DI in industry trades, most recently PR News and Triple Pundit. Helen is a native New Yorker and in her spare time enjoys Italian cinemas, museums, reading and cooking. A very, very diverse and a very, very holistic portfolio of Helen. With this, I'll request you to kindly share your insights with the august audience in this hall. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh, and thank you to your wonderful organization, the PhD Chamber of Commerce, for welcoming me and having me on. I am sorry that I could not be with all of you in person. You see from my bio, I live in New York. I live in Westchester County, so it's a little bit of a travel thing for me to get all the way to India. But I would love to have been with you, and I hope that our time together, will be effective, and that we can learn from each other. So, and also I want to thank my previous speaker, Ms. Gupta. Thank you so much for your insights, and I was nodding my head to a lot of what she was saying. So, I actually had a few slides. I don't know if you can see them, or will that work, or should I just speak extemporaneously?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Should I do slides or?
Yeah, you can use slides. You can share your screen.
Okay. Oh, I don't know why this is doing. Okay, let's see. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So I thought I would, and I don't need to go through all of this because I know that time is critical. But what I was very intrigued when Dr. Singh reached out to me and asked me to be part of this conversation, because it's something that we think about quite a bit at FinPartners in terms of the new age and what the next permutation of effective DEI strategy is going to look like. So I kind of themed this around the face of diversity. So, this new decade that we're in, we've seen extraordinary examples of humanity at our absolute worst and at our best. And this notion of a dual pandemic of global social unrest and war and things have, as well as the lingering effect of COVID, it has laid bare the undeniable truth of disparities amongst people of diverse backgrounds. So what I want to do today is really take a look at the global force that is diversity and inclusion and offer some insights and hope for the way forward, especially since even though we see these very challenging times, these events have ignited a spark, if you will, and inspired a movement around the world for change, driven in large part by a unifying sense of humanity and a shared interest in advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. So just very briefly about FinPartners, we are a global agency. We have over 1,300 employees around the world. In fact, I've got some excellent colleagues that are in our offices in Bangalore and Delhi and Mumbai and throughout Asia. And so we are all united around the notion that we want to make a difference in the world, and that the most effective way for our clients to be successful is to have a commitment to diversity, not only from a business perspective, but also from a moral perspective. At Fin, we are known for our innovative multicultural marketing. This is just an example of some highlights of some of the current projects that we have. I work very closely with the artist Anish Kapoor, who you may know. He did the famous bean Cloud Gate sculpture at Millennium Park in Chicago. So that was really a highlight of my career. We do impactful consumer engaging programs around things like, diabetes awareness or hair care or consumer public safety. We did a major campaign around COVID safety protocols and the importance of getting vaccinated. But all of our work really in this area is born from a singular vision as established by our chairman, Peter Finn. And that is to be a world-class, best place to work global agency with a heart and a conscience. We are also united by a series of core values. Our commitment to diversity certainly is not something that we did in response to a lot of the things that are going on now. This commitment to diversity is something that we've had as part of our culture literally from day one when the agency was founded almost 11 years ago. We also have an unparalleled dedication to purpose-driven work. So, and by when I say purpose-driven work as our global diversity officer, I always look at things through the lens of effective DEI communications and marketing strategies. And this is just a handful of some of the organizations and clients that we represent. We have signature brand experience. We work with some of the finest luxury brands around the world on matters relative to DEI. We serve iconic brands all over the world, and we've got world-class clients from a variety of sectors. But also we have a particular expertise in building hallmark brands and engaging them with historically excluded groups around the areas of DEI and multicultural marketing. So our commitment to this culture of diversity is infused not only in our internal culture, but also with our clients. So we provide strategic DEI counsel to our clients, and we do this not only just by, kind of telling them what to do, because we are the experts, but we sit down with them and we map out strategies, and we really work together with our clients to navigate these times that we live in. Everything that we do is really based on informed planning, connectivity, and a deep understanding of our landscape. This is just highlights of some of our offerings in multicultural, and it ranges from diversity training, from creating internal policies and affinity groups, creating matching donation programs, civic engagement and volunteerism initiatives, and so forth. So our approach really is designed to put an emphasis on culture, to build awareness, inform public opinion, and enhance demand preference and connection. And we approach our work in this area with enthusiasm, passion, and a commitment to excellence. As Ms. Gupta said, how we define DEI really is informed by the organization in question. But I believe that because we are a global society in this digital age that we are in, it connects us rapidly. I believe that we all need to look at diversity, equity, and inclusion through the same lens, but with a lens that is custom to what your particular area is and what your company or organization is all about. But if you start at it with this notion that there's a uniform approach and a uniform appreciation to defining DEI, I think that that's the most effective way to approach it, because at the end of the day, diversity is the one thing that we all have in common. When we think about diversity, diversity really is about representation, and it is the full range of human differences. Equity is about a level playing field, making sure that there's consistency and there are systematic laws and rules in place to ensure that everybody is treated fairly. And inclusion really is all about involvement and empowerment. And it is also about recognizing everyone's inherent worth and dignity. So when we talk about the face of diversity and how we understand the global landscape, this is something that I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to this. I really enjoy deep diving into a lot of the data and the statistics. So I'm just going to briefly go through this. But the British, Caribbean British journalist Lady June Sarpong, she said something that struck me, which is diversity is strength. It's time to unlock the untapped potential of our diverse, multicultural, and global society. Diversity truly is among the most buzzed about topics in our industry today. And as I said earlier, it's both a moral and a business imperative. It's also a concept that has been top of mind, particularly recently, across the board, with companies all over the world talking about this issue. But we know that when it comes to business, you cannot have this monolithic approach. It's really necessary to have a global mindset in order to remain viable and relevant in today's marketplace. So let's quickly take a deep dive into the global landscape. I mean, clearly, obviously, we are talking about India, but as you probably know, as of this month, the world's population is projected to exceed 8 billion people. Half of those people live in just 7 countries. And this is according to recent data from the UN. And between now and 2050, that number will increase by 28%. The early estimates are saying that by 2050, India will actually surpass China as the world's most populous country, with an estimated 1.67 billion people, with more people are actually living in Nigeria than in the United States, as an example. Also interesting, and I wanted to look at this because, Dr. Singh asked us to look at, what is the new age all about? It's interesting when you think about our global population and aging trends. Aging trends in many parts of the world have been holding steady over the previous years. Countries in Asia and Europe have some of the world's oldest populations, whereas countries in Africa are home to some of the youngest. So overall, Europe and Asia are aging rapidly, while Africa is home to the world's largest youth population. So that's something to consider. So what does this all mean? How do we ensure DEI success now and for the future or for the new age? Well, to quote Howard Zinn, we don't have to engage in grand, heroic actions to participate in the process of change. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. And quickly, we talked a little bit about this. There's a lot of naysayers out there, but there are specific diversity myths and specific diversity realities. But the main thing is to take away from here is that diversity actually increases productivity, it improves creativity, it increases profits, it improves employee engagement, it reduces employee turnover, it improves a corporate company's reputation, it offers and inspires a wider range of skills, and it improves cultural insights. And when we have improved cultural insights, we have a better environment for everybody to work and to be more productive. So how do we ensure success when we think about DEI in the new age? Well, first of all, it's all about aligning values, right? Committing to a culture of diversity, I think, is the first and most important step. Identifying and adhering to clear goals, highlighting and rewarding inclusive behaviors, addressing unconscious bias. I loved the anecdote that Ms. Gupta talked about in regards to people with different physical abilities as well as women in the workplace. So it's very important to not just identify these issues, but to address it in the workplace. Also, diversifying recruitment efforts. That's really important because you don't want to just always go to the same places because you'll end up with the same types of people. Also, it's important to foster an environment that promotes diversity and inclusion. And also, the most important thing about this too, and I'll jump down to number 10, is this idea of adopting a compassion mindset. So how do we get there, right? So what are the effective ways to ensure that DEI is working? I call it the triple A's. 1 is acknowledging the issue. 2, it's the authenticity of your message. And 3, it's action that can impact change. So, when we think about this compassion mindset, as I said, at Finn Partners, we are a global agency and we operate with a heart and a conscience. And we have 5 principles that we also live by, which is respecting the rights, differences, and dignity of others. It's demonstrating honesty and integrity in all dealings. It's being accountable for actions and conduct in the community, and it's pursuing excellence conscientiously in our work. And also it's about cultivating bonds and bridges that will enable everybody to grow and learn from each other. So with that, these are just some highlights. You know, we work with a company called Superdrug, and they came to us wanting to understand and engage more with women of color in the UK, and that's just one example. So we created a whole Shades of Beauty campaign for them. I mentioned our COVID safety protocol campaign with Hip Hop Public Health. And then just in conclusion, you know, it's all about striving towards inclusive excellence, fully embracing people. And also it's very important that during these challenging times, that we always choose empathy and kindness and reject hate, and honor the rights, differences, and dignity of others. And again, moving from diversity, equity, and inclusion with a compassion mindset. Diversity isn't enough, and inclusion equals equality. And in conclusion, I just want to close by quoting Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who said that all of our humanity is dependent upon recognizing the humanity in others. Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions or if I was talking too fast.
Thank you, Ellen, very much. In fact, first of all, apologies for keeping you awake at this point. I think it must be around 1 a.m. in New York, 1:30 a.m. in New York. But in fact, your presence was very, very important because you in fact busted a lot of myths about, you know, the DEI. And in fact, the realities that you told, the slide between the difference between myths and realities, definitely that is the, you know, the mainstay, or you can say fountainhead for adopting the DEI culture within the organization. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions, or should I wait for the end?
I think because since she has to leave, if there is any question from Ms. Ellen and also like Ms. Harita, you can ask. Yeah, you can switch on your mic.
Is there any way of measurement of DEI in the workplace or in a country also? This is good in good to such an extent, like any measurement index is there?
Yeah.
So out of $100, how much you will give to your organization, to this organization or other organization?
Yeah, Ms. Ellen, is there any measurement index or any quantitative thing that can actually quantify in terms of measurement of DEI agenda? For example, X companies that say 10%, Y companies that say 50%.
Okay, I love that question. Excellent question. So it's important that we do our quantitative and qualitative analysis to judge and determine the efficacy of DEI programs. So from a pure quantitative perspective, you know, you can measure the success by looking at your goals as it relates to diversity data, hiring, but also from a qualitative standpoint. I know at Fin we regularly do employee surveys, and we have an anonymous platform where employees can actually go online and register issues or complaints or feelings that they may have. And in time, you see the needle start to move in a positive direction. So it's important to have those checks and balances in place when you go about creating a DEI program. A critical part of that is how you measure the success.
I have a question. So is Harita madam online?
No, I think she has left.
Okay, so I have the question for the panelists and for...
Excuse me, just a second. Can you identify yourself?
Yeah. Let me first of all introduce myself. My name is Yash Harshvardhan. Academically, I am an engineer and I'm an advocate as well. I've done my law. So my questions would be on two fronts of technology and the legislative means by which equity is introduced in our country through legislations. So let me first of all begin by thanking and congratulating the PhD Chamber of Commerce and especially Dr. Jatinder Singh sir for organizing such a wonderful meet wherein all of us could come and deliberate on this particular issue. Let me equally be thankful to Madam for giving us a glimpse of as to what is Project Echo and Project Lighthouse, the purpose for which it has been made. Now, my question is, Madam Harita Gupta had rightfully pointed out about the benefits of technology as to how it has ensured equity in the form of work from home and other things which it has brought. Now, my question is, in the modern day, in the modern age Industrial Revolution 5.0, as we say it, automation seems to be one of the most pressing issues. I mean, automation is the next thing where we are going ahead with. Now, per se, automation is something that can also be detrimental to the workforce that is at the shop floor. So my question to the panelists and everybody joining us virtually as well is, how will the concepts, the principles of diversity and especially equity be there in place with something, with a disruptive technology like automation? That is number one, my first question. My second question is, like equity, we talk about equity in the country, in our country, the concept of equity is usually identified with the concept of reservation. Now, reservation is something which is sometimes mandated, which is sometimes stipulated by governments on private sectors as well, where, I mean, like there are instances where private sectors are reluctant to accept that particular principle for the fact that it compromises on efficiency. So my question is, in the Indian context especially, and I put forward to Ashish sir as well, as to how do we ensure the element of efficiency with equity in place? So these are my two questions, and I open this for the panel.
Thank you. I'll request, in fact, Ms. Helen Shelton to kindly address this question, because she has to leave also, then we can have general Q&A for the jury.
Absolutely.
Over to you, Ms. Helen.
Well, okay, I guess I see what you're saying, and yes, automation is certainly on the horizon, and it is certainly something that is a threat to human input and humans being able to make a living and feed their families. But there are certain things that any business, regardless of how heavily they rely on automation, they still need to rely on the humanity in order to be successful in a community or the consumers that you serve as a company. We all know, and this is a global phenomenon, that this is not just a US phenomenon. Studies have shown that consumers tend to want to spend money with and support and champion companies that have policies in place that they are doing good in society. So certainly there are jobs and things that automation can take the place of humans doing, but the reality is, for long-term success, you can output as many things as you want and have robots and computers putting them out. But if your corporate reputation is not solid when it comes to being authentic and truly wanting the best for the consumers that you serve, in the end, it's not going to be successful. So I think that companies need to strike a balance. And I don't think we should fear technology. I don't think we should fear automation, but I think that we don't want to let it take over.
Thank you very much. We will have after. We can have the last question for Ms. Helen, because she has to leave.
Just to follow up, I just need to clear one thing. Like, my question was directed towards automation per se. Automation's impact on the workforce, like companies would certainly go for laying off certain of the employees when it comes to certain practices where automation can remove them. So my question was limited to that. I mean, like, what is the means by which we can ensure that the principles of equity are in place with automation?
Well, I don't think that a company can use automation entirely. I do think that any company that is responsible has to have a human resources element and has to have a policy for humans that do work there, a policy in place when it comes to things like layoff protocols, hiring, promotion, retention, and all of those things. I don't know of any company that can be 100% automated. So for the employees that are there, there needs to be effective HR policies, human resource policies in place that are specific to ensuring adequate diversity, equity, and inclusion is being, applied to the humans that are working at that company. I don't know if that answered your question.
Thank you. Please, we will discuss afterwards. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, you want to ask? Okay, last question, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Shanti from Shahida University. Good morning. You said that you are a global company working in different countries, and you have a global diversity policy or diversity. But do you think which would be more successful? It would be the diversity policy at the global level or a local diversity policy? You know, having a diversity policy specific to certain countries. What's been your experience?
I love that question. So, okay, we are a global company and we have over 1,300 people all over the world. But our policy is certainly universal in the sense that, everyone, regardless of where they are in the world, has to participate in mandatory unconscious bias training. Everyone must adhere to the same HR policies and not discriminate in any type of way. But also when it comes to executing our commitment to diversity, as Dr. Singh mentioned, we have 4 different pillars that we work with: recruitment and education, community engagement and volunteerism, and all of that. So it's important that those pillars or those areas that we demonstrate our commitment to diversity are custom for the communities that we are in. So as an example, in Singapore, we have a purpose project, and that's a major part of our diversity program and our diversity strategy in Singapore, where our colleagues there mentor and work with young people and around certain issues relative to Singapore. In the American South, we work with over 40 African-American businesses, all around the year. So we, in the name of a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, that is our unifying platform. And in the communities where we do business, we have custom approaches to how we execute that. So you're absolutely right that
thank you so much.
Important, but it's important to have a local spin to it as well.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Helena Shelton. In fact, you have clarified many of the doubts which were there among all our audience. And since you have given that global perspective, and in India also, India being a very, very diverse country with, many ethnicities, people from different backgrounds. So here the DEI agenda is, in fact, has become a very, very hot topic among all boardroom discussions. And I'm sure that within a decade or so, you will see a lot of, DI workforce within, the organizations. So thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, and it was great to see you. And thank you, Mr. Wig, and everyone. Thank you for having me. I hope to see you all again soon.
I just want to add that I'm sorry I said you are from UK, but you are in
New York.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great conference. Thank you again for having me. Bye-bye.
Much thanks. Thank you. We have our next domain expert, Dr. R.S. Dabas.
Excellent. To your question, I just had an example in my mind. Maybe that would be equity or equality में फर्क है ना? There is a company, I'm not going to name it. I know the owners very well. They are builders, very big name. तो एक दिन मैं उनके साथ बैठा था and he said कि आशीष, you know what? I have started training women to become masons. मैंने कहा ये क्या कर रहे हो तुम? मेसन बना रहे हो उनको? कहता है, do you realize that ladies by temperament and nature do a cleaner and neater job by temperament, and nobody has harnessed this. आप समझ रहे हैं? तो ये वो इक्वालिटी वाली चीज नहीं है, ये उनकी अपॉर्चुनिटीज बेस्ड ऑन द स्किल ऊपर ला रहे हैं. सो आई थॉट दैट इज अ वेरी नाइस थिंग. अनफॉर्चुनेटली कंपनीज आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ दिस. तो ये हमें अगर चीज समझ में आ जाए तो बहुत फर्क होगा. डज इट आंसर योर?
Yes, yes, absolutely, sir. I mean, like working on upgrading their skills, that is very much there.
So
And-
that is where you said, na, how will it affect the production?
Yes,
This is how it will affect.
Right.
It will not only affect income of that family,
right.
but also directly affect the production income of the group.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I have the opportunity to introduce Dr. R.S. Dabas. Dr. Dabas is an international trainer, motivational speaker, and organization transformation coach who has trained and coached around 2 lakh persons globally from 500 organizations and addressed many world conferences in different countries. He worked in organizations like Aditya Birla, Hero Honda, Jindal Steel and Power, JBM Group, and Trident in positions like HR head or vice president, CHRO, CXO. Media has featured the cover page stories for his award-winning organization, transformations, cultural and productivity turnarounds, motivational expertise, and innovative practices. And Asia CHRO has listed him among the top 100 most talented global HR leaders. He is a National Council member of ISTD, board member of National HRD Network, and has led NHRD and Delhi as its president. Mr. Dabas, Dr. Dabas is honors graduate in chemistry from Delhi's Hansraj College, MBA and PhD from IMSAR, and received training as management trainer from IIM Ahmedabad, and is certified on MBTI, NLP, Japanese management, and on coaching. He has traveled extensively in the world for acquiring wisdom and imparted training and authored Amazon selling book, which is Success and Beyond. Over to you, Dr. Dabas, for your deliberations.
Jitendra invited me. I was delighted, not because as a CHRO, I have been involved in diversity, managing diversity in the organization in different companies, but because as a student of diversity, I have always been very keen about the diversity because some reasons. As a first generation who went to school, walking 16 kilometers for schooling daily, 8 kilometers one way, other way. My father has never been to school, and I have seen that one part. The second part was just, I returned yesterday only from London. I have seen my granddaughter, who has all type of the children. I mean, the class fellow were from African origin, from white origin, from Philippines, from all this. And it was such a, I have wonderful photograph. I used to drop her every day. So it was just day for yesterday. I was there and experiencing that. Experiencing 30 countries, including Afghanistan, where I stayed for 2 months. I used to go to the interior village. Staying with a family in Japan, where I was for 2 months in Japan to learn Japanese management. For 1 month, I was just in Japan to learn the Japanese management. And then apart from that, 12,800 kilometers traveling by road in America. Our experience, diversity in America and India is different. When I have traveled in 108 districts of India for my training programs, I found the diversity application has to be truly different for India as compared to advanced countries or more of developed countries, because our requirement is different, our situation is different, but I'm happy it is evolving. Let's see some presentation, then I'll make some case study, not case study, I'll share some experiences. And I'll skip some of which has already been covered. Bias and lack of fair treatment at work are two of the top 3 factors correlated with the retention risk during the Great Resignation. So people are leaving because of these factors. Unfair treatment. This is one of the reasons. 76% of the global workforce believes diversity at work is a critical factor when considering the employment. $8 billion being spent on training in diversity, equity, and inclusion. That means the scope in developed countries, we are much at the initial stage. But I'm so happy the growth is coming very fast. In India also. And now it is changing very fast. Maybe the need has come because for me, with my background, I came with a lot of different background where I was confined to the village, caste system was there, everything was there. And now all children are going to different. So it is, I think, one of the factor is that also. And secondly, if you to be globally competitive, you have to use all this diversity inclusion. Now, so factors of concern are discrimination usually is because of this race, disability, sex, sexual orientation, religion, belief, age, etc. All this is one. Life circumstances can also be, we have to understand if someone, maybe when I was reading all about the diversity from different companies, Microsoft, Accenture, all these things, they really take care of this lifestyle, life circumstances. That means poor housing, caring responsibility, somebody is taking care of the parent, old parents. That means diversity requires going to that level. In India, we are at a very infancy stage. Poor literacy. So drugs and alcohol may not be the fault of the person. They might have been abused. So it is not the fault of the person. So how we can give a fair treatment to all these victims also. So I think this is just the scope. The consequences for the staff is if there is a biasness, unhappiness, depression, lack of confidence, anger, rage is because of that all. Lack of belief in the system or in the organization, sadness, lack of engagement at the work, and resentment is there, poor performance. So I'm skipping all this definition because it has already been covered. I was happy to see a lot of companies, they have given their mission statement on diversity. So some of these companies, I was reading about 20 such mission statement. Some of these are Google's, Microsoft, you can find out that on the internet, but this is clear mandate that we are going for DEI. Now, Accenture, which has been ranked, I was reading about this, wonderful. They have been ranked #1 in diversity in September 2020 by Refinity. What is their CHRO says about there's 7,21,000 employees from 121 countries. So that's the diversity. First is that Accenture. Secondly, they say when they got the first award, their CHRO says, our people are our greatest source of competitive differentiation, and the unique backgrounds, perspective, and experience they bring fuel our ability to innovate on behalf of clients. Congratulations to all the companies recognized by this company. Okay, some of their uniqueness is taking flexibility further. In the sense, now they are coming, they say N-Floor. N-Floor means virtually, it's a very something enterprise metaverse. That means virtual environment to bring people together to meet, collaborate, learn, and socialize. The metaverse is a versatile, scalable solution for bringing a geographically distributed workforce. It is a, they say they are working with flexibility. Truly, they are working with flexibility. I've discussed with some Accenture people also. Talent development, they spend $1 billion on training and development. Equity and inclusion, Accenture has 120,000 Pride allies across the world, and 47% of their workforce is female. 50% of their board members are female. So that's basically increasing accessibility. That means for the physically challenged employees, there are 32 accessibility centers and they deploy 35,000 people globally. That means they provide help to them. So this is the scale. Well, inclusiveness is why we need to do the inclusiveness is 3 reasons. Organizations with toxic culture are more exposed than ever before. Now there's because of media, because of so there's a toxic culture is getting exposed. So that's why there's awareness. The need to attract and retain top employees who can bring new ideas in to be more competitive, and the workforce itself is becoming more diverse. Today, the younger people at the top, they are coming with diverse background as compared to persons like us who came from different backgrounds. So maybe this is also self-propelling. That's why the benefit of diversity, I'm not going to cover. It is a lot of innovations, competitive advantage that will be there because of. But one thing is that if you are only working with one type of the homogeneous organization, innovations may suffer because people would say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, only. So no difference will come, different perspective will come. Requirement of a diverse and inclusive culture is that first is employees are treated with respect, second is employees are valued for their strength, and third is leader do what is right. Instead of do good, diversity, it is now must have if you want to develop the competitive advantage. So I'm coming to 5 minutes, and still that symbol was there. Being different is a normal thing. That was the attraction. Today they're the largest terry towel maker of the world, largest bed sheet plant of the world. So they have truly become global. There are some people who just do not follow the rules. They create their rules. Trident says in their recruitment advertisements. 24 hours helpline open for any idea, suggestion, grievance. Get satisfied reply in 8 hours. Otherwise, you can directly contact the chairman of managing director of the company, and within 24 hours, you'll get a reply. Being different is a normal thing. Now, this was the position. Now it is one of the more than 6,000 crore group itself. Now, they are selling in more than 100 countries, truly global in the sense they have a lot of. Now, what was the empowerment practices which Trident started and has grown because of this? What I'm trying to say is they followed empowerment practices, trust practices, and respect of the diversity. And now what has been the result in terms of business? Launched on 2nd November, I was part of this mission excellence exercise that, okay, total employee involvement with necessary zeal. And this is 1,000 crore by 2008, which was just a small company, a big craze. Now, how it was started? It started that trust leads to trust and mistrust leads to mistrust. This was, now some of this, biannual open house. Anybody would sit in the open house, can speak anything. It was clearly told that if action is taken against that person because he has spoken something wrong about the leadership style or something, that leader will not be working in the organization. This was clear mandate. So that means 1,000 people on the lawn. There was no chair, everybody sitting. Today it is replaced by LSIP, large scale interactive process. But they have been maintaining this LSIP or open house from the very beginning. Anybody can speak anything, and the person at the top, it was clearly that they have not to take any action so that people are free to speak. Second, team empowered to go on picnic. Okay, you do your work, go outside. You are all empowered. No designation to be allowed in this company. Still, they are not. They are following since the very beginning. You can't write your designation, all to be called Trident members. That means it's a dignity for the people. And if you write your designation, you can write it outside. I was vice president that time. I was CHR of the company. I was chief organization. Outside, I can write it. But inside the organization, I'm not supposed to. Otherwise, 500 rupees is the fine. So they believe that everybody is Trident member and they don't follow the designation. They are total 12 scale and no others. Managing that is the 12th scale, that's all. CHRO 11th like that, and a first line operator is then 1 scale. So basically, and they operate on that. I mean, just 12 salary slab only. Asking employees to declare there. This was first time in 93 we started. No attendance marking, no punching, no leave application for a manufacturing company. Today people have started for work from home, etc. But I'm speaking in 93 of a company where no attendance marking, no punching, no leave application. You have to declare your salary at the end of the month, but you have to trust. And so this was basically started something unique, but this was. Secondly, you can take any, enlarge your work, take responsibilities. We said, what is your market? People were getting less. They said, sir, I can, this is my market value. So we said, okay, if you increase, if you achieve this target, we'll be giving 30% increase. Next 7 years, this company gave 30% increase in mass to everybody. In mass to everybody, minimum 30%. So they are one of the highest pay master, a fresh graduate from B school, from, B town, B class town, not metros. Or they don't go for big names of the IIM, IIT, etc. They also go for that, but for a fresh graduate from any district, 9 lakh rupees was the package which they were giving in 2019, which was my last working there. Multiple skill training. MDB app is my team of manager year to, and then every manager has a box. Aapke vichar mere bare mein. Everybody, every manager. 3,000 female workers, female operators, managers, all levels are working, and they are mostly taken from the village. In Madhya Pradesh, Budni, there is 1,000 acre of complex, or in Punjab, Barnala, 75 kilometer, the bus will bring the operators in the morning, and these girls are really managing their families. Now you can understand that these are operators at the work, and they are highly efficient. They are very, Asmita, women empowerment, they got the best award of the country in women empowerment. Recently, they got the 3 awards in HR excellence from CIA also, because they feel that diversity has to be practiced. And I found it really works in this organization. There are many organizations in India which need to be published, which need to be shared. There may be lacuna somewhere else, but I found it is more of historical. I work with Aditya Birla Group. Aditya Birla has been more traditional, but the moment Mr. Kumar Mangalam, because he has studied from UK, he came, there's a difference. Hero, there's a CHRO who is not an Indian, he's a CHRO of the white from USA. Now the current CHRO, they respect that diversity. So I've seen that evolution of diversity is really increasing in India because of now, because younger generation is in the takes, they are in the charge. Secondly, the need to be global. Thirdly is, if you are not practicing, today media is open. So maybe by force, but it is what I am trying to say. If the companies are opting it voluntarily, it is helping in diversification, in innovations, in fast growth. And this is what Trident has proved also, that they are one of the fastest growing organizations, and they are truly competing the world over. They are all supplying to world. So, and today it is a must. You can't avoid it. So this is what I would like to submit. And on behalf of there are now organizations which are offering in India also diversity certification, etc. NSHRD network is also one of that. Many organizations, many institutions have started. So this is as a profession emerging in the country. This is my submission. I would like to submit here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abbas, and also sharing the case studies of some of the, best organizations who follow DI as a, part of their culture, rather than something being imposed. They're already, practicing it for so many decades. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite our next speaker, Professor Hina K. Bijli. Professor Bijli is currently professor in the School of Continuing Education at Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. She has held the position of Director, School of Continuing Education, IGNOU, and specializes in the areas of community resource management and extension. Her academic career of over 24 years has spanned across universities like Aligarh Muslim University, University of Delhi, the SNDT Women's University, SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, and Jamia Millia Islamia. Professor Bijli has been honored for outstanding contribution to her field by the University of Delhi. She has authored a book titled Women and Health, Intersectional Issues and Social Constraints that center stages the issue of maternal health concerns of the most marginalized women in India. Professor Bijli has many research contributions and publications to her credit in the areas of gender and technology, extension, nutrition extension, Panchayati Raj, non-formal education, event management, open and distance learning, and curriculum development for open and distance learning, amongst many others. She is a member of academic advisory boards, committees, and statutory bodies of several universities. Over to you, Professor Bijli, for your deliberations.
Thank you, Dr. Jatinder, for the introduction, and I feel fortunate to be amongst all of you here today. And thank you, PhD Chamber, for inviting me here on a topic which is has been debated over the years, gender. That's what I've been called here to discuss with all of you. And I was listening very intently to all the previous speakers, experts here, and to our audience also, where, you know, in the flow of our conversations came out the words diversity, inclusion, equity, and all that. So gender is a subject which is at the heart of all this. And unlike other experts here who have had such a global experience, I'm a person who is basically from the field. My forte is community development, community work. So we are into development practicing for several years now. I teach this subject, and at the same time, we like to spend our energies and the, you know, knowledge gaining in the field through field experiences. So the subject of concern here is gender for me, because this is very close to my heart. And it's very important for all of us to understand why we are here to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and why I am here to talk about gender, because basically gender is intrinsically related to poverty. So many of the students here, a little bit of theory I'd like to project here. Not, I hope I won't sound boring, but gender, the meaning of gender is, if you look at it deeper, deep down meaning of gender, it says that female or male differentiation is culturally or historically determined, and that it can change. You know, this difference can change. Therefore, a change in the gender structure can be brought about by fulfilling gender needs. So what is gender structure here? Gender structure is a culturally created concept. It's a paradigm in itself. That there is inequality between women and men. And gender needs are needs that women may develop over a period of time, and these are culturally and historically determined. So it also means that men have gender needs. It's not just women who have gender needs, men can have gender needs, and people of other gender also can have, such as people may identify themselves as having a being transgender, non-binary, queer, you know, natal sex, or maybe nothing at all. So all these are terminologies which we are aware of today, but the subject of focus here is gender in itself. And, you know, one very salient term which I came across when one of the speakers was talking sometime back was gender diversity, and also how digital can be used as an enabler, as a facilitator to bring about equity. So that would be one of my concerns in this presentation, and most of this I would be talking about from my experiences in the field. But coming down to an immediate concern in India today, like Helen was pointing out, that India is going to be the most populated country in the world. By 2050, it will surpass China, and currently also only 7 countries have majority of the population in the world. So India also is there on the top ranks there. So India has the largest cohort or group of adolescents in the world. Let's accept that. And they comprise 16% of India's population from 10 to 19 years, making adolescent health crucial to achieving the country's sustainable development goals. Every 5th person in India is an adolescent. this is not just about these reports, but from our experiences in the field, we are talking about why addressing the needs of adolescents who are going to become, whom India is nurturing to become a very skilled workforce because of all kinds of government programs, why adolescence is being considered as the loci of interest. 27% of girls in India are married before their 18th birthday and 7% are married before the age of 18. So India has the largest number of child marriages in the world. India is a country which prizes reproduction, where at Minarchy, the potent sexuality of a girl is channelized into a socially acceptable condition called marriage. So this is very, very important for us to understand why India has the highest absolute number of child brides in the world, because there are persisting ideas of marriage in a woman's life trajectory, and there is this adverse sex ratio. I'm not going to go into all those statistics, you would read that from census, but because of this, what happens is marriage is not delayed beyond the point of reproduction in India. So adolescent birth rates are higher where child marriage is most prevalent, and child marriages are more prevalent where poverty is extreme. So we have found through national reviews that adolescents are not just affected by undernutrition, but let's take it today, the reality is they're also affected by overnutrition and common mental disorders, substance abuse, etc. And girls are particularly vulnerable. 45% of the girls aged 15 to 18 have a body mass index less than 18.5. Being from sciences, we have seen this in the communities also. And 27% of women aged 20 to 24 were married before the age of 18. So the pattern is repeating, this kind of pattern is repeating still, although we have the National Rural Health Mission in place, we have made architectural corrections, we have schemes like Janani Suraksha Abhiyan and Shishu Suraksha Abhiyan and other such village health and nutrition day in villages. All these are being celebrated. Adolescent girls' needs are being addressed through reproductive and child health programs, but it is still not helping. And you can see the level of literacy of women as compared to men. It's 68% as compared to 86% of men. So we can see that, especially if we look at the second point, girls are particularly vulnerable. This is a very, very critical aspect which we need to ponder upon, because pregnancy issues related to adolescents result in spontaneous abortions, critical medical conditions like puerperal sepsis, hemorrhages, and premature deaths. So these are very, very important issues which are happening. Now, health and income vulnerability, the Global Gender Gap Index is a very important index which says that India ranks 112 of 153 countries. Global women's personal finances are weaker than men's, because we know that according to the public labor surveys also, it shows that women's wages are lesser than men because they are largely engaged in informal economy across the world, not just in India. And the gap widens in absolute terms for higher earning women. More than 80% of the women are nurses, midwives, auxiliary nurse midwives in villages, ASHAs, accredited social health activists in villages. And they are female as compared to 80% of doctors who are male. So rural women and adolescent girls have definitely serious health concerns. So what is the income aspect side? Brazil would add more than 3.5 billion to its GDP if teenage girls delayed pregnancy until the early 20s, while India would be just 7.7 billion higher, more than Brazil. So India ranks 132 amongst 191 countries according to the Human Development Index. India is ranked 101 amongst 116 countries in Global Hunger Index. There are 42% children less than 5 years old in India who are underweight, almost double the case in than sub-Saharan Africa. So we need to understand that malnutrition is not affected by food intake alone, but it's also related to practices, such as the iron consumption in food is very low because iron absorption happens slowly because of phytate-rich diet in our villages. It is by nature that this is like this. And also girls, they fight nutritional anemias, not just anemia. So iron and folic acid intake, the tablets which are given to women, a lot of malpractices are happening over there from the delivery of healthcare system side also, because of which, and women are not aware about the importance of consuming iron. So this results not just in iron related anemia, but also nutrition related anemia, because all this is scientific and interconnected. So even if they have iron and folic acid tablets, but they're not having nutritive rich food, this affects their health condition. And we all know that by the age of 12 or 13 years, girls are still getting married. So a study which we conducted in New district of Mewat district, Mewat region of Haryana, shows that girls still get married at the age of 12 or 13 years, even to date. So these are, and the uptake of family planning methods by men is very, very weak, and resorting to family planning measures because of son preference is almost to zero. And we have explored the usage of maternal child health tracking system in those villages. And we try to make use of community radio as well to this effect. But then, of course, it works. Like I said, digital tools can become equalizers in this regard. So one thing which is very, very important for us to understand is that, sorry, I think I moved ahead instead of moving behind. इसको main इस पे ले आइए मेन्यू में, स्लाइड शो पे ले आइए. So this statement at the bottom of this slide, malnutrition is intergenerational, meaning it takes a few generations for the once malnourished girl to become the grandmother of a well-nourished girl. So in between, how many times will a girl produce a malnourished child? We need to understand this aspect. So this is a very, very significant point which is used by development practitioners across countries, and it is very, very critical. So a lot of women in India are engaged in agricultural jobs, and they are the most vulnerable because they face the burden of poverty, child rearing, and also they try to work in the fields, and they are engaged. The extent of health hazards they experience most is in transplanting, threshing, parboiling under post-harvest activities, shed cleaning, milking under livestock management. So, of course, missing women, according to Amartya Sen, is synonymous to the missing women in the workforce. That's what the statistics tell us. And when we talk about displacement also, when women migrate, for them, their traditional and political definition of borders is well defined. But for them, the home and hearth lies elsewhere. They have to accept that also. So they face dual effect of poverty the most. So how do you build a perspective for development? Like I was building a perspective so far about what are their needs, what are the gender needs, what are the gender needs of adolescent girls. I was primarily talking about that because we are talking about the youth of today who are going to be becoming the future generation for tomorrow to convert our nation into a major trillion-dollar economy. So women in developing countries are the poorest of the poor because they are the most marginalized, and they always consider economic needs as a strategic factor. So this gender need, which I spoke in the beginning, is directly related to economic needs. So if you compare that definition of gender need with this economic need, it is the same. So In India, women are employed in 5 sectors: agriculture, health, education, paid domestic work, and manufacturing. These comprise 80% of the female workforce. They are also engaged in micro or informal sector enterprises where women are employed in high labor and low capital inputs. So technology and financial inclusion definitely play a crucial role in development, but there is gender bias in development assistance. Let me tell you that even in the delivery of programs at the grassroots level, there is gender bias still. So gender needs have to be taken into account for technology and microfinancing. So the silent majority of the world's poor, how 400 million full-time jobs got lost from April to June 2020 due to the novel coronavirus pandemic. So women are the most affected. They earn less, they save less, and they are engaged in all kinds of diverse informal economy, and they do not have that kind of social security. So they play the dual role of caregivers. So those gender norms, those which they are supposed to follow in the society, is also translated and converted into them giving caregiving roles to their family. So this has happened during COVID within households, even in rural areas, which has actually affected their livelihoods, and they haven't been getting paid income for a long time. So whatever differences or discrimination existed for women, that precluded even pandemic, and these existed even before pandemic, and now the COVID combating measures have overlooked still the wide spectrum of gender, class, caste, and religious faith. So the effects may be long and may not get compromised for a long time. Yeah, so I'll just wind up in 5 minutes. So again, women have faced bottlenecks in usage of technologies in micro, small, and medium enterprises, where they have faced indifferent attitudes by bank officers, exploitation by promoting NGOs, lack of marketing facilities, etc. So basically, some of the insights which come out of our field level studies, which we need to integrate with women's contribution and role in the small sector enterprises, is that life skills education. So life skills are a combination of special social and psychological competencies which help people to undertake, informed decisions, make critical and creative decisions for their own livelihoods, and also enhance their own decision-making power. So that is very important. Then resource appraisal. So resource appraisal is something where we have a combination of social scientists and technocrats who would like to work into the attributes of naturally existing resources such as lands, soil, other resources, and then social scientists who work on people and the organizations and the resources, human resources which exist in organizations, and the training of intended beneficiaries by stakeholders. So the digital gender opportunities, their e-governance cases, success cases are isolated cases, but we also need to try to close the gap of digital literacy expansion, because women are still at risk. We are following old school of thought of, covering through collaterals and all that, but we also need to look at their credit worthiness, their risk-taking capabilities while we look into their entrepreneurial skills. So empowerment is all about spaces. Empowerment is about a woman's agency, the capability of deciding on her goals and acting on them, her realization of her self-worth, respect, self-confidence, and also how she understands the power structures around her and she's aware of them. That is empowerment. So autonomy and independence are important characteristics in any project which you students can take up in future in your B schools. So there is a gender in development paradigm. If you look at gender theory books, now we are coming up with the capability approach paradigm. Then there is a misnomer where the synchronicity of microfinance is questioning the so-called neoliberal gender sensitivity approaches, so-called neoliberal, which say that, you know, this is the so-called rational economic and entrepreneurial women, but that is not happening actually. So these synchronicities have to be questioned through research by identifying significant financial literacy lags in addressing rural women's needs. And then, of course, where you can do research is innovation in credit scoring models. I told you about how risk-taking abilities can be checked and strengthened. Mobile ownership shows less gender gaps, so this can be explored for women. This is already happening. And then, of course, financial literacy and demographic dividend. And of course, maternal and child health, because all these are intrinsically related. Impact of anemia programs. Don't just study the reasons for child stunting, but have a longitudinal study which covers the continuum of care right from birth till adolescence and growth. So social and behavior change communication interventions are being taken up. And of course, this is my last slide, which tells us how cross-sectional studies, case control studies where participants are selected on the basis of outcome status, cohort studies where participants are selected based on exposure status, longitudinal studies, multiple indicator cluster surveys, which are being taken up by the UN organizations also now, but we've been doing this for a very long time, cluster-based surveys, because this addresses the health aspects of this vulnerable and critical group of women and children. So, of course, investing in maternal and child health and investing in gender per se, their role in economy would really be beneficial for all of us for the coming tomorrow. This will definitely add to our contribution towards sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Hina Bijli, for your perspective. In fact, in every program, we bring this academic perspective also, because at the end of the day, industry-academia interface is paramount in order to make a fine balance between the theory and practical. So both things we need, they complement each other. And before we end this session, I'll request Mr. Ashish Bigwa, our chair, to kindly felicitate our speakers with the momentum and the plan from PhD chambers. First to Dr. Professor Hina Bijli. So ladies and gentlemen, we are already late for this session. We'll break for tea only for 10 minutes. We'll start this session exactly at 12:25 p.m. Please be on time. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. In fact, now we have a very important session. Herein we'll be talking about the corporate governance, legal compliances, internal policies and support systems for diversity, equity and inclusion. May I request the speakers of this session to kindly come on the dais. Mr. Nakul Pathak, the co-chair of HRIR Committee, PhD CCI, and also Senior Executive Director, Human Resources, IFCO. Ms. Shweta Berry, Director Marketing and Head of Strategic Alliances, Aries Communication. Ms. Ravi Birbal, Advocate. Ms. Shweta Bharti, Senior Partner, Hammurabi and Solomon Partners. Ms. Jyotika Kalra, former member, NHRC. And Professor Dr. Namita Rajput, Professor, Shri Aurobindo College. So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, can we invite everybody to kindly come inside, Pankaj? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to again, go through some of the slides or you want to listen to some of the speakers, we are already there on the YouTube also. Right now it is live. Immediately after the event, it will be posted on the YouTube. So at any point in time, you can refer to YouTube channel and just put diversity, equity, inclusion, PhD chamber, and the entire day proceedings will be there. Right. So welcome back. And since already I have told about the topic, what we are going to discuss, which is again going to be a very important aspect in order to understand the nuances of diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly from the perspective of corporate governance, legal compliances, internal policies, and support systems. And so already we know that as per the business responsibility and social reporting, there is one of the principles being the human resources component, wherein a lot of emphasis has been given on the DEI agenda also. So it is becoming a very critical subset for corporate governance in any organization who comes into the mandate for business responsibility and social reporting. And otherwise also for an entire, gamut of organizations, be it a micro, small, medium enterprise or a large corporate entity, until unless there is a transparency, there is a sort of, effectivity in terms of having diverse employees, inclusive employees, wherein, each and everybody's, pain points and challenges are being properly, addressed to, there will be no, sort of a growth in any organization if those things are not, seen properly. So in order to understand the more facets, we have in fact this session, and without any further ado, I'll request first of all, Mr. Nakul Pathak, co-chair HRIR committee, to kindly start the proceedings with his deliberations. Over to you, Mr. Pathak.
Thank you. Dr. Singh, good afternoon, friends. I'm so happy to be here amongst all of you, my fellow co-panelists. Friends, the topic is DEI, so important for every one of us, and the domain experts are here who will explain you in detail about the subject, but I come from an organization which is in the service of farmers. I'm working with IFCO, which is manufacturing and distributing fertilizers. And without fertilizers, friends, we cannot ensure, food security for our country. It is so important now. So we are contributing around 25% of fertilizer requirement. Naturally, we are the biggest Last year, we sold around 125 lakh tons of fertilizer, which is huge. But why I'm want to share with you that the topic is not just about training programs or awareness programs of DEI, because it ultimately adds to the top and bottom line of the company. The results are tangible, and the innovation and creativity is all about having diverse team in the organization. And why I'm saying this, because IFFCO has come out with a huge innovation, and I would like to share with all of you that we have produced nano urea, which replaces a 45 kg bag fertilizer of urea with 500 ml bottle. This size of bottle replaces 45 kg bag of urea, and this happened all because of having diverse teams. Our managing director was in US attending a conference, and there he saw a Indian giving a presentation on this nano fertilizers, and these top leaders, they have this uncanny knack of spotting the talent. When he came back, he said, I want this man to work with us. So we contacted that person, and he was here. We provided all support. We set up a lab in our Kalol unit, which is near Ahmedabad. And in 1.5 years, the nano urea was produced. It was tested across country at 11,000 locations in the field. And then government gave it go ahead and approval. The formal approval was given. And so far we have produced more than 6 crores bottles. So you can imagine, and this is such a huge innovation, because normally when urea is applied, only 30% is the uptake by the plant. Rest of the urea goes to spoil the soil, it goes to spoil the subsoil water, and it spoils the environment, because volatilization losses are there. And in nano urea, there is no damage to the environment. So it is very, very environment friendly, and the 145 kg bag of urea is sold to the farmers at 266 rupees a bag, which is highly subsidized. Government spends more than 2,000 rupees on the bag, and 2,000 rupees, close to 2,000 rupees is the subsidy to the farmer. And this nano thing is without any subsidy. We sell it at now 225 rupees to the farmer. So we are spending, government is spending more than 2 lakh crore on subsidy. And if we can save, the subsidy amount, even 1 lakh crore if we replace urea, because there are other fertilizers also, the DAPs and NPK. So we will reduce the subsidy amount substantially. There will be no loss to the environment. And then the transportation cost, the logistics involved in 125 lakh tons last year we sold. You can imagine, from our 5 plants and ports, the material went across the country. So the type of logistics involved, and this will, if farmers has to take 10 bags of urea, he has to arrange a trolley or something, and 10 bottles he can put it into pocket, and he can do it. The only hesitancy which farmer is having, and mind you, the yield is 8% more than the conventional urea. And this, why I want to share is that the results of having inclusive team and having diverse team are tangible, and this innovation is all the result of this. Then another thing is, in our organization, other organizations also have this. We have a suggestion scheme in place where suggestions, the employees can give suggestions. and they can form a team and give suggestions. And we save around 40 to 60 crores every year by implementing those suggestions. And it is not about the savings only. The employee engagement is gauged by this. The more suggestions we receive, we feel that employee is engaged. He is thinking about the improvement. He's not just coming and doing his duty and going back. So these are the things which happen all because of this diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think I will stop here, and I will request the domain experts and Dr. Singh to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nakul Pathak. And IFFCO being one of the world's largest cooperative in the entire world, and leading to, in fact, dealing with diverse workforce, comprising of all genders and all different sort of people from different backgrounds. I'm sure that if we go deep, because on the surface we cannot see the DA agenda, but as we dig deeper, if we go to the plants and see the actual work that is happening, and I think seeing is believing, and IFFCO is one of the diverse, I can say one of the, you can say the centers for following DA agenda at the workplace. Thank you very much. Now with this, I would like to invite Ms. Ravi Birbal, advocate, to share her perspective on this theme. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your spectacular platform before such knowledgeable audience today. So, sometimes I really wonder that why do we need to categorize somebody as something different? We are all humans. We all have some problem or the other. Human body is nothing but just a machine. Somebody could be a sugar patient, somebody could be a heart patient, a neuro patient, a muscular patient, a diabetic, or an eye patient, or anything, ENT, whatever. So everybody has some peculiarity about their body, which is nothing but just a machine. When everybody has a peculiar problem, why do we even need to carve out differences? Why do we even need to categorize somebody into disabled, while I personally like to call them as divinely abled and not disabled? And why do we need to categorize somebody as a homo? Why can't we just see everybody as equal? Because this is something, a body is given to you by God, by nature. Even the problem is given to you by nature. Something which is so natural need not be demarcated or carved out, except for the purposes of giving them privileges and equality and for defining them under law. Personally, I don't think, publicly, I don't think we really need to marginalize them or carve out as a different category at all. In fact, not just nature, even the constitution of our country provides so many provisions for equality. The law of the land provides so many provisions for equality. For example, Article 14 of the Constitution of India says that everybody has got equality in the eyes of law. Everybody is equal in the eyes of law, even if you are disabled, or let's call them divinely abled. Article 15 says no discrimination on any ground, caste, creed, sex, and that's equally true for the disabled people also. In fact, interestingly, if you will study the law of our country, everywhere the term used is person, citizen, man, woman. It does not say abled man or an abled woman. Similarly, Article 19(1)(g) states that everybody has an equal opportunity to work, profession, occupation. Article 21, a very beautiful provision in the Constitution of India, says that there has to be protection of life and liberty of each one, which of course includes the disabled, the divinely abled, the homo people as well. And Article 41, which is the star provision of all the provisions, that's a directive principle of the state policy, and that is specifically made for the disabled, and please note down, even for the ill health people, states that in black and white that every disabled person and every ill person has to be given opportunity of work, education, other opportunities, and assistance in times of need. So when Constitution of India is providing something so particularly, who are we to carve out them as a separate category at all? not just the Constitution of India, but as you all know, in 1995, initially, the Person with Disabilities Act was promulgated. Thereafter, India in the year 2007, please note down, signed a very interesting covenant with the United Nations for the Disabled People. And thereafter, based upon those covenants, the 1995 Act of the Disabled People was amended in the year 2016. The most important amendment which took place was that the provisions, some of the provisions were made applicable to the private organizations also. And pursuant to 2016 amendment, I have myself framed many policies for the private organization where, of course, the 16 Act does not mandate that there has to be reservation in employment in private organization. It does not mandate so, but it says that they will all have policies providing them convenience of work, provide them in things like proper toilets or, good working structure, or if it's somebody is blind or handicapped, then proper work culture, a place to work properly, a place to sit properly. Apart from policies, there is mandatorily also supposed to be a grievance mechanism cell in every company across the country for the divinely able. Let's not even call them disabled, for the divinely abled people. Then not just the constitution provision and these disability acts, even if you look at the hardcore labor laws, you've got the Equal Remuneration Act 1976, which says every man and every woman would be given equal privileges. It does not mean an abled man, abled woman. It means every man, every woman, no matter who you are. Then if you look at the Minimum Wages Act, the Employees Provident Fund Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952, the Employee State Insurance Act 1948, the Shops and Establishments Act, the Factories Act, there is no discrimination in any of the labor law provisions. But saying that, there is one very peculiar provision, and Jitanderji, you must hear this. I think we must discuss about it, and probably that needs amendment. That is Section 2 small c of the Industrial Disputes Act, which says that if somebody goes ill health, somebody has continuous ill health, then when you retrench the person, you need not pay any retrenchment compensation and you need not do anything. You can simply terminate him. I think while the labor laws of our country are so pro-labor, but this provision I feel is unfair and somewhere even unconstitutional, because when Article 41 talks about ill health, then Section 200C saying that you can just terminate somebody if somebody goes ill health, I think that's not really appropriate, and maybe it needs amendment. Then apart from this, for the homosexuals, we of course had the, the Protection of the Transgenders Act 2019. And very interestingly, you may note down, in 2020, a very interesting judgment of the Calcutta High Court appellate side came, I think it was by the name of Dr. Malvika something versus Internal Complaint Committee, wherein it was said that if there is a gender-based sexual harassment complaint between people of two genders, same genders also, even that cannot be discriminated, and even that has to be looked into. Maybe the complaint is proved or not, accused is guilty or not, that's different matter. But even if it is a complaint between same genders, no discrimination, and that must be looked into. And one more interesting concept is that, I also argued a similar case which said that, okay, fine, you are disabled, you have right to protections. I again repeat myself, you do not have reservation in the private sector, while you do have reservation in the government sector, like a 4%, 5%, that provides for 5%. But the law says, maybe you have these reservations, you have policy, you have grievance mechanism cell, you would be leniently treated, you may be given extra leaves whenever you need, but being divinely abled, being disabled does not mean you can indulge in misconduct and there cannot be a disciplinary action against you. I have also personally done some cases defending the management that yes, a disabled person has to be slightly treated better than the normal people, given certain privileges, but if they indulge in misconduct, there can be some disciplinary action against them also. So saying all this, I would want to conclude by saying that while we have no dearth of laws in the country at all, but what we really lack is awareness, and more than that, what we really lack is the execution of those provisions, no dearth of laws. I personally feel that our systems should be so transparent, so accountable. There should be CCTV cameras. The compliances should be website based. So transparent it should be that law of the land prevails and not the law of one's own individual mindset. That's my view on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Salvador, for also letting us know some of the provisions. We definitely need some course corrections also, like to set about 2O subset C. I think the retrenchment compensation definitely is one of the issues that is a burning issues, among the workman categories also. Thank you very much. And in fact, as rightly said, the execution matters more than the compliances, although we have plethora of labor laws which have been now assimilated into labor codes, which has actually yet to see the light of the day. But at the same time, as digitization is happening, as tech is actually enabling this, all these labor laws, I'm sure that probably in some years to come, there will be a lot of, good things. And the actual, what is there at the background in terms of framing those, laws, those things will be manifested in days to come. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to invite Ms. Shweta Berry. Ms. Berry is the Director Marketing and Head of Strategic Alliances, Aries Communication. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaskar and a very good afternoon to the panelists on the dais as well as my fellow friends who are a wonderful audience. I see you have been engaging with the nods and all. I would love to hear your voice also while we speak. So please feel free to ask questions even if you want to interject in between. So I come from the world of technology, and I thought that since we're talking about, and my session is on corporate governance, legal compliance, internal policies and support systems, why not take a live case of a company which, walks the talk at diversity and inclusion and belongingness at the workplace. And I perhaps would also like to quote somewhere here and there, what I have seen other companies doing. So with this, I come from a global company which is into the Internet of Things. For those who might find difficult to understand Internet of Things, we all know about connected cars, autonomous cars today. We all know that we wear a health band, and from this band, which takes our temperature to my pulse rate to even BP today, I can get that data into my mobile phone and I can WhatsApp it to my doctor in case I need an emergency reading or a consultation, right? So all this happens in the background when machines talk to machines, and this is what we do. So we have an Internet of Things platform, and we have joint venture with SoftBank and Volkswagen. Mitsubishi and Volkswagen connected cars work on our platform. We have today connectivity provisions across 185 countries, and our platform is taking care of 14 million devices across the world, which are generating 1.5 billion IoT messages on a daily basis. Now, what's the reason of me telling you all this? You understood that I come from a technology company, right? I'm telling you this because a company at this scale needs exceptional people who are not only talented in the skill set that requires a very good understanding of technology, engineering, but also languages, because we are present in 185 countries, serving more than thousands of, our clients, our partners, our prospects across the world. And except barring, I think, Antarctica and Arctic, we are present everywhere. In India itself, how many languages are spoken? Anybody? How many?
I mean, like it's close to 800.
Close to 800. So I probably say course pe badle pani, course pe bhasha. Right? That's the diversity we live in here. Now you imagine across the world a company serving clients at a very, very advanced technology. Right? So our people have to be exceptionally good in technology, but also languages, but also soft skills. And we have cultures which are working with us at different, zones, different times, and also locations. So right from Noida, where our headquarters in India is, we manage operations as well as clients and deployments in Indonesia, Africa, Middle East, right? You can say that these are Asian cultures, it should not be a problem. But we also service clients in the UK, in Latin America, in Canada, in Japan, right? Totally different cultures when I talk about the professionalism, which they bring onto the table. So when we talk about diversity, in lighter mode, we'd say, oh, it's about, inviting everybody to the party. Right? That means you are hired, you are recruited, right? Not looking at your cultural background, not looking at your educational qualifications to a certain extent, given the, which economic class you come from, not looking at your color, not looking at your sex orientation. Inclusion is being asked to dance. That means come and participate and work for us. But at Aries, since I said we walk the talk, we go one step ahead and we say, when we dance, you dance as if no one is watching. That means this is your place, this is safe, this is secure, this is where you belong to. The sense of belonging comes when you open your arms and you respect all, right? So at Aries, we celebrate diversity, we are inclusive, and we celebrate each and every festival that, happens in different parts of the world. So from Halloween to Thanksgiving to even the Black Friday sales, which are happening right now, we are part of it. Then, very important thing when it comes to practicing diversity and inclusion. See, this is something which, Mom Calvo also talked about, that laws are already there. Constitution supports, respect all, love all, and the Constitution is there for all. We don't discriminate. But can this happen in an organization, especially corporate, just like that? No. You have to walk the talk. And if you can make out, the faces here, you will see different colors of my management. So we talk about diversity, we talk about leadership styles, we talk about, different approaches right at the top, which then percolate down to the middle management and also to the managers and entry-level staff of ours. Because of this diversification of color, of regions, of, I would say, leadership, our company fosters this, it nurtures this as a truly sense of belonging for everybody. Sorry. Yeah, and this picture is slightly lopsided. If you look at the gender scale here, you could only, perhaps if you like to count, there are only 5 women in the whole picture. This is my Pan-Asian team. But if you look at the designations these ladies are holding, which I've highlighted, I have Asia, who takes care of the whole geography of Africa, all the continents. She's bringing beautiful, business, because diversity, as Mr. Kaira said, fosters top line growth as well as bottom line growth. And these are the living examples of it. I have Charu sitting on the right-hand side, who takes care of Middle East business, and I doing the marketing, and I would rather say the face of brand Aries. I take care of the Pan-Asia, SAARC, also Middle East and Africa business growth for the whole organization. So though we are less, but as women we deliver more. So though our gender ratios are lopsided, and we are trying to balance it out both at the highest leadership level to our level, countrywide, but we get the opportunity, the equality of representation of decision making in the echelons where they matter. Then one thing which is very important, and a lot of companies would be doing lip talk that yes, lip service, that we have diversity. You can come in our office and you'll see, people from various backgrounds, color and creed working and all. But what do you do with that when, people have conscious and unconscious biases? How aware is your own workforce about what diversity, what respect really means, right? What me, going and hugging Asian women or like French, when they meet and greet, they would just, hug you and they would, kiss you twice on your cheeks. Is that acceptable? Right? Who would tell a newcomer about this? That no, it is not acceptable. Right? So that is where, knowledge management platforms should have certain ways and interesting means of talking about what diversity really means. So we have a course here which says Diversity and Inclusion 101, something which is very basic, and this course is not mandatory, right? It is there in our learning platform. We can opt in and learn about this, and we get a credit course, in our learning KRAs that we have completed this course, and it adds more points to us than doing a technical training. Now, another important aspect is why this is not mandatory. When we are a global organization, we are dealing with different cultures. We strongly believe that when you put something mandatory, you create followers. When you give people an option to opt in, they would be willingly doing such courses, or they'll be, opening their minds by learning about it, and they'll become leaders, and they'll carry this throughout wherever they work with us or outside. Now, another thing which is very important is you talk about diversity, you talk about inclusion within your office premises. Is that enough? At Aries, we believe, no, it is not enough. So we look at how we can, include people, caste, creeds, minorities with the technology, how we can associate, or how our technology can create a difference, impact, a positive social impact in the lives of people who would be touched by our technology directly or indirectly. And this is where, we conduct special training programs for students from minorities. We actually conduct 2 weeks to 4 weeks trainings for minorities in our office, where they get hands-on experience. And all the cost of this is borne by us. If there is a need for an instructor to come from India, we also bear that kind of expense. And we don't put it on, the corporate listing. At times we voluntarily go and we do such kind of things. And another aspect, since we talked about, technology company, we all know that representation of women in science, technology, mathematics is very, very less. So while around 28 to 29% of women opt for STEM courses, only 15% make it to doing actual jobs in that. And as you move above and above, only 5% representation you will find at the middle management to vice president positions. So those positions drop. What is the reason for it? So we find out from the women themselves that in the Internet of Things space, in this technology space, which is cutting edge, which remarks, you working maybe more than 10 hours a day when a special project is to be delivered, what are your challenges? What are your challenges at workplace? What are your challenges with your managers? What are your challenges at home? Can we help? Can we, as women, address few of the grievances? Can we share our solutions which have helped us over a period of time to support us in both, at work and at personal levels? So we do these Women in IoT seminars, and past 2 years, because of the pandemic, we stopped. But in 2018 and 2019, we invited industry, women from industry, from both IT companies as well as academias, from academia, to come and talk about what kind of issues and what kind of possible solutions they bring onto the table, how they overcame their challenges, and network. Right? See, unlike men, and with due respect, you get your fab breaks, right? You have the office sponsoring sporting events, and I would say cocktail parties, where you would rarely find women being present, right? So what is it for women to come out, network, and help each other, right? And to these parties, we invite men as well. And this is what we do in the social sector. So we are a small company, we don't write checks, but we definitely see how our technology can intervene and make lives of social entrepreneurs as well as social sector NGOs better. And also at the academia, we have IoT Center of Excellence established, where professors as well as students, they form their own projects. We give our IoT platform absolutely at no cost, and they develop solutions which they find it useful for their research work. And if something commercially viable comes up, we help them with go-to-market. And definitely celebrating diversity, inclusiveness, and equity. So I'm pretty sure you might not be able to see what's written here, but this is an official mail coming from the global headquarters. The office administrator has written that we have the Pride logo ready of Aries, and please include it in your signatures. Go to LinkedIn and use it wherever you want it, right? So it's official. We support and we celebrate diversity at all levels. So we also contribute in media about what good things we are doing. We try and learn a lot from people coming from different and varied backgrounds and preferences, because that's what opens up our minds too. So this was one interesting contest that we ran in Chicago office as to what I am not today, but I really wanted to be and I dream to be. So you can see people wearing costumes, and I think this was part of the Halloween also. So fun times when we celebrate. And I think everything said and done, if you don't have an open, transparent, and accessible culture, you will not be able to foster diversity, inclusiveness, and equity. And this is just an image of my office here in Noida, where if you see where the picture has been clicked from to the end, there are no walls, right? So we break the ceiling. We say that you can walk in and walk out anytime. Our management sits in an open space like this, and we are accessible to anyone. You don't even have to come and knock at the door. You just have to say 2 minutes, and you say, yes, let's go for a cup of coffee. So that's living, talking, and walking the talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you. In fact, you rightly said you walked the talk, and that has been quite exemplary in your whole presentation. So Aries has been one of the forerunners for believing that there is definitely the DE agenda that needs to be followed in letter as well as spirit. That's the essence of it. Thank you very much, Bedi Madam. Thank you. Now with this, I'd like to invite our domain expert, Professor Dr. Namita Rajput from Sri Aurobindo College, to kindly share her thoughts with the august audience.
My greetings and salutations to the organizers, to the esteemed panelists, and my dear participants. First of all, I am very thankful to the organizers for calling me on this dais and giving me an opportunity to share my views. So I will be talking from an academic's point of view. I have been teaching in University of Delhi for 3 decades now, and I have seen this transitioning of how the workplaces are more gender inclusive, gender sensitized, and how the overall ordinances have been implemented in the higher education institute. So I'll be sharing my, the first-hand experience of how the things have changed over a period of time. Initially, when the concept was adopted, like the Ordinance 15 and Ordinance 16, Ordinance 15 for the higher education institutes, which are under the, recognized by the UGC, and Ordinance 16 for the organizations which are recognized by AICTE. The overall concept of the gender sensitization training, which is the other name is POSH Act 2013, they are now in place and mandatorily implemented in the higher education institutes. So we have the implementation of the internal complaint committee in the colleges, and wherein there is a representation of the students, the teachers, and the chairperson is also a woman, with the inclusion of NGO person and followed by an advocate. So there is a proper procedure which is being adopted so that these complaints in relation to the sexual harassment at workplace are addressed in a very pertinent and a very correct ways. Now there is a saying that if the flower is not blossoming, do we do any corrections with the flower? No, the answer is we do the correction with the environment and give them a chance to grow. So as far as the women participation and in the other social arena is concerned, it is actually clutched. And if you ask me now, it is evolving, but still it is clutched. The woman is not allowed to roam about in the, especially I'm talking about the rural India, because I'm running an NGO and I work actually with the slums. So I see the conditions of the women. They're always on the receiving side. They are harassed at every level. They are always on the decision taking side, not the deciding style. So overall, when you talk about when a child is born, there is a difference in the concept of when a male is born and when a female is born. So as such, when the females are born, it is not taken as a good gesture. It is not taken in the right stride. It is not taken with the sign of a happiness. Why? Because of the social structure which is surrounding us, the patriarchal circle which is around us. So owing to which these gender stereotypes are institutionalized in the families, in the workplace, and all around. So which is responsible for this kind of a situation? When we are not able to have the mainstreaming of the woman, what to talk about the transgender people? So as a matter of fact, in the higher education institutes, we do the gender sensitization workshops. And now there is a new concept of gender audits, which is now in place. And as far as it is now a definite and a more important part of the accreditation of the institutions also, that we have a cycle of 5 years. And out of those 5 years, the gender audits have to be done at least twice in the 5 years. And if you talk about the sex segregated data, it is collected on the basic parameters of teaching and learning, about the research and development activities, in terms of how much budget is allocated, what is the representation of the women in the important committees in the college, in the running of the college. So all these parameters are now being adopted in the colleges and the higher education institutes, just to defy the gender stereotypes and breaking the biases of what has been inculcating and imbibed in our cultures. So basically, when you talk about the equity and equality and the diversity, equity and inclusion, which is the topic of today, I'm going to just give you an example through a shoe analogy. So when you distribute the shoes to everyone, it is equality. But when you distribute the shoes of their own size, it is called as equity. And to my knowledge and comprehension and contemplation of whatever is the situation, equity is much more important than equality. So here in this pretext, we are actually giving them the opportunities to grow and prosper. And as a matter of fact, we are also reflecting the gender orientation and the gender sensitivity in our prime documents, which is like we need to, it is mandatory to have a gender policy in which you have to give a timeline of as far as the mission and the vision statements are concerned, which shows that we are respecting all types of genders. And for that matter, we have a policy for the transgender also. We are making the transgender cells in the colleges just to include everyone in the mainstream in running them through the entire system of the education, etc. And also about making of the washrooms for the gender transgender people, because you know this is Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, as was here in the last conference. She gave us the problem of using of the washrooms by the transgender, that if they use the girls washroom, then it is an issue, and if they use the males washroom, then entirely it is a different issue. So just to have a catch on this, in the colleges also now it is mandatory to have the transgender washrooms, which is going to give away an opportunity to live a very free and a liberated life, and they also have their identity. Not only this,
we are also trying to collect some SOGI data, SOGI, that is sexual orientation, gender identity data. That is, what is your preferred pronouns? You want yourself to be called as he or him, she or her, and they and them. So, last week I was taking some presentations of a case study competition on the stage. So I observed that a student came on the dais, and he was wearing a big danglers or the earrings as the females they wear, and otherwise he was dressed like a male. So after the presentation, the students were laughing at him, they were making fun of him. So I just went on the stage and gave them some kind of an orientation in relation to diversity, equity and inclusion, and gave them this kind of an orientation that it is his life, it is his way, that the way he wants to dress up, or probably the cross dressing is giving him a pleasure. So why not give him that? So everyone apologized publicly to him, and then I took him to the corner and I asked him that what is your preferred pronouns? So with aggression he said, it is he. And it is my style that I want to wear these danglers. They don't have a problem. So he was showing aggression on me. Then I explained him that I'm trying to equalize the atmosphere and trying to give some kind of a comfort for him only, that I gave this orientation. So then he was like very happy that, these steps are taken, and, he was like taken aback that, these kind of steps are taken. So to my knowledge, the transgender people, if you compare the life of a female and a transgender, the transgenders are most discriminated aspects of the education system, of the workplace system. So we have to actually work and make the strategies in place to make the workplaces more inclusive and happy, and make special policies for the trans people. So there was also a survey conducted in the many higher education institutes, because I'm on the panel of many transgender cells and I work for them, and I declare myself as a trans people activist. So what I suggest them is that you must do a survey for them, be an ally for the people who are discriminated, and let them live the way they want. So this Transgender Act 2019, which was mentioned by my fellow Miss Ravi, that she made a mention of this Transgender Act 2019, which gives them a liberty to declare anyone as a trans male or a trans female, and for this they don't have to even go for the sex reassignment strategy. So what we have to do is we have to create an environment to make people accept such people, because there's nothing abnormal about it. It is just that you want to want to have an identity which you feel you are happy about. So even the transitioning of declaring yourself as a male, trans male first, and then you're unhappy with the situation, you can again reassign yourself and give the documents to the district magistrate, so that things will be in the place. So overall, when you talk about the higher education institutes, we are actually doing the POSH workshops. We are creating the gender sensitization in the classroom, across the colleges, online, offline, and it is now mandatory to make the trans people, the women, a 21st century challenges ready. So whatever we do is quite substantial, and we see the change now that people have started doing the pride parades in the college. They are, fighting with their identities, and now they're coming up and saying that I am a gay, or I am a bisexual, or I am a lesbian. So let the people live their own life with the equality and equity and diversity, and it will make the workplaces more sensitive, more inclusive and more happy. So what the last line I would like to add here is that we all have to join hands together to make the places more diverse, equitable and inclusive, by keeping the transgender and the woman in a larger participation of all the strategies what you're making, and make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Rajput, for sharing your views. In fact, I am a firm believer that diversity breeds innovation. So more diverse workforce we have, more diverse, ecosystem we have within the organizations, definitely there will be more of creativity and more innovation in that. Thank you very much. Now we are also joined with Ms. Jyotika Kalraji, former member NHRC. Ma'am, thank you for joining us. I'm sure that you must be having a lot of matters with you at this point in time. Thank you for spending your time. I request you to kindly share your insights with the August audience.
So at the outset, I thank the organization for having given me this opportunity to share with you with this very important and a very sensitive topic. As Namita was referring to the transgenders, so at National Human Rights Commission, LGBTIQ was one of my subject, and I had very, extensively dealt with this issue of LGBTI. We had a core group. Many of the persons belonging to this group, rather transgenders, are my friends. They are in my phone book. I call them, they call me. So one of the most important things, because we were having some research on this topic, we were also doing core group meetings, conferences. But end of the day, my personal view was that unless we mainstream them, unless those transgender start and join at National Human Rights Commission, the purpose will never get served. That is the only way of, when we are talking about, when we say that we are sensitive or we are serious about the issue, the result would come only when one of them, two of them are there as serving with National Human Rights Commission and getting salary for that. Because it so happened, these are the core group members, and for the conferences, the core group members are being invited. And many of the conferences where the chief guests were either Prime Minister or the Home Minister, President, all those very eminent personalities of the country. And when these transgenders went to the Vigyan Bhavan with their invitation cards in hand, one of the persons stopped them from entering the venue. How come you are here? So then they showed their invitation cards, and thereafter only they were given an opportunity to enter. So that is the state of mind even of now. We only consider transgenders as somebody who is there for badhai and begging. That's also a sort of badhai. Even we call it begging on the roads, but it is more of a badhai. Like if you give them some money, they'll give you some blessings and they'll give you. So that's also kind of a, not calling it a begging directly, but it is also kind of a badhai. But and then sad part of it is I also personally pursued this issue of getting them employed in National Human Rights Commission. I said we should have, and I offered my own office that we should have that culture of working with the transgenders, because I'm not talking about lesbian, gays, because they don't have any special identity. They don't need any protection which is being required for transgenders, because there is an act also which specifically deals only with the transgenders. But to my utter disappointment, I had made the Secretary General, etc., ready for employing them. But and despite having personally also followed it up, nobody joined as an employee of National Human Rights Commission. So that's like, because that is where at every workplace, and they must join the way they are. It is not that if for joining they should be required to change their style. They should be allowed to work in the same way they want. So that, but it's a journey. I can't say that whatever I've done has gone waste. Not at all. I think that concept has emerged. People will start thinking that the right way of mainstreaming is that they should join the workplace. So at a point of time, I think we'll succeed. But transgender community is a very, very small community of the society. And I also say that when we talk about gender and when we talk about females, people start saying that you please also talk about transgenders. I keep saying that you can't equate the issues of females or women with that issue of the transgender. If you place them at the same level, that because of being third gender or because of being a transgender, they should also be addressed, then this issue of women will get lost, will really be
will really take a backseat, because everybody would like to speak on the issue of transgender and to show that their concerns are more, they know more. So that is one thing, but the issue of gender is when we are talking about females, which is almost the 50% of the population, that is equal to the issue of transgenders. When we talk about females, we talk about females, and we talk about transgenders, we talk about transgenders. Diversity, I was thinking in the morning that as to what the diversity is. I thought of, like, in Delhi, we might find more diversity than in Lucknow, and Lucknow might have more diversity than a village in Azamgarh. So I take it back. I mean, at Delhi we are having more diversity, Lucknow lesser diversity, Azamgarh a village in Azamgarh still very less diversity. How it so happens? It is more of an economic phenomena. People who are courageous, people who are ready to take challenges, they travel, they leave their place of origin. You know, discrimination, when we talk, say Article 15 of the Constitution refers to discrimination, it mentions about place of birth. There should not be any discrimination on the ground of place of birth. So those courageous people, they leave their place of birth, they move to better places for economic reasons, and then they move still further. From Lucknow, they will move to Delhi, and from Delhi, they might move to New York. So at a developed place, you will find more diversity. But at the same time, that diversity, as I said, is one of the reasons is development. Those who are people who are open, they are ready to take courage, they are ready to take challenge, they move from one place to other, economic factor. But at the same time, this Delhi, you will find that diversity is more neutral. You will find that despite diversity, there will be more neutrality or more similar people. You will find they dress up in a similar manner, they behave in a similar manner, they speak kind of a similar language. You can't identify the diversity that predominantly as you might be able to identify diversity at Lucknow, and it would be more prominent when you are talking about a village in Azamgarh. So that's also another side of the coin, that diversity also makes the entire society more liberal, more adaptable to the cultures of others. When you start adopting others' culture, that diversity, you know, really becomes what is being expected. Diversity, why are we talking about diversity? We are not doing any favor to any community when we are talking about diversity. We are, in fact, we are improving our own society, our own culture. Remote places, when people come from the remote places, they have their own unique experiences, their own unique ideas of looking at the life. So diversity helps in understanding the things in a better manner and in taking better decisions from, different people taking different positions. Having said that, then comes the question of equity. I think equity is more justice oriented. Equity doesn't come naturally. Diversity comes naturally, but equity needs intervention of an independent agency. Equity would require, would expect maybe National Human Rights Commission to take some stand. Equity might require PhD to take some stand. Equity might require our parliamentarians to pass laws which gives reservation, which gives special status. And as the judgment of NALSA, whereby this entire exercise of transgender was done. I'm just adding, when I was reading the judgment, I was surprised that in that Supreme Court judgment, the Supreme Court has said they should have the right to open a bank account. This is the state of affair. They should have the right to open a bank account. They should have a right to birth certificate, as if they never existed. So, as if they didn't exist. So right to open a bank account. So equity is a responsibility. It as I said, it can be, it is expected to be from the organizations, from the government, from the courts also, because in our country, the most equity or the equitable status is expected from the courts. And in many of the cases, the courts have really, stand by that test that they have really passed some good judgments whereby they have discharged their obligation or responsibility of ensuring equity in the society. And diversity, as I said, will come naturally. It's a natural economic or, process. Equity giving special favors, but in our society, there are many states which give reservation to domicile, and it is always a political phenomena that the locals should get the reservation. And the latest is in Haryana. Latest is in Haryana. So whereas you would always be very much willing that your son should go in New York and get a citizenship, get a green card, but you will not allow a person from another state to get a job in Haryana. So how hypocrisy we feel that we are very happy and proud my son having gone to New York, but I will not, is working there, earning so much of money, but from my state exchequer, somebody who doesn't belong to this state. So this is, equity is the responsibility of the states. I think once the states also come out of their political stance, they might realize, and it's always being felt in this working culture, workplace. I keep listening to the people keep telling that I would like to have somebody from South India to work in my organization, and I'm ready to have him with his family. I'll arrange for his flat, I'll arrange for his stay, because he is impressed by the working culture of South Indians. Maybe English, maybe their honesty. This is kind of a thing. And in hospitality industry, I have found in recently, lot of Northeast, whether it is aviation or in hotels. And how it is coming up, maybe they are doing it deliberately. And they are working really well in aviation, in your aircraft. Language, or maybe their looks or their docile, personality. Girls, boys in hotels, hospitality industries, Northeast is doing wonders. And they are holding very important managerial position. It's not like at lower level. So this is again diversity. You don't do it for the sake of diversity, but you find that kind of a person belonging to that part of the country will be serving the interest of the organization better. So that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. When we have these kinds of environments where diversity being taken care of by the natural processes, equity being taken care of by those who hold the positions of power, inclusion will come. Inclusion will come as a logical conclusion. Then the responsibility of the organization, working this thing, I think the most important thing is at the board level, that is the board meeting or the directors, we should have this kind of a representation. That is, that board must address the issue of diversity. And one of the example, we have reservation for a female independent director in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, company's board. After I think 300 crore something, a company with a profit of 300 crore compulsorily need to have a female independent director. So that's how. Yeah. And I'm one of the beneficiary of that. I was appointed in two companies just because of being a female. And but I keep saying at the public platforms also, Just because I was a female, I got that opportunity. So at
only 5% of the business companies.
maybe, yeah, I'm not that,
Right now the figure is 17% as of 2020.
but I'm not going on to those details, but I'm saying this will start with board being diverse. And I gave you an example. Board can be diverse only when you take these special measures. Nobody is going to appoint a woman who is not influential, who doesn't have money, to be a part of the board until there is a compulsion. Compulsion means there is a reservation. Although it is not successful, but I am not hopeless that it will not be successful. It might, that place is there. We might file the public interest litigation, or we might file other kind of litigation before the court, seeking a direction from the court that these organizations should be directed to fill the vacancies of the female independent directors. That is the recourse. My point was diversity should start right at the stage of board. At the board, there can be diversity by including transgenders or by including disabled, visually impaired persons. So that's how we can, but you know, the company or the corporate governance will always be keen about the profits or the risk management. So the balance has to be drawn. How do we draw a balance that in having diversity and along with that simultaneously taking care of the profits or the risk management? And no business organization will go for diversity if it is causing any loss or harm to its profitability or to its public appearance or kind of a thing. Yeah. So then there was also a concept of legal compliances. That legal compliances also, no organization has any role to play in that. It is for the government. It is for the state to ensure that these are the compliances which have to be made. So the organization's role is to abide by those compliances, but the concept of legal compliances, which can be reservation, which can be special treatment, which can also be to make the accessible. I think for disabled people, the most serious problem with most important buildings also, they are not accessible. There is no provision for lift or ramp. And I keep saying that it is not only for the disabled that the buildings are not accessible. If there is no lift, so a person like me may not be able to climb second floor or third floor. We may brand it as disabled, but everybody at a point of time has a component of disability within him. Like for visual, in a lift, if the lift doesn't speak the number, I may not be able to see the number. So if it speaks, it is not only for the sake of disabled, but for a very larger community that it serves. So internal policy of the organization should be for the larger benefit, because ultimately that larger benefit always works. You will always find New York developing in a very fast pace. And as far as Myanmar is concerned, who turned out the Rohingyas and sent them all to Bangladesh, that Bangladesh today has a better per capita income than India, despite the fact that Bangladesh accommodated around 10 lakh Rohingyas, and despite the fact that Bangladesh is the most thickly populated country in the world, considering the population. And so diversity, so taking others who are weaker, taking them along is for the larger interest, is for the larger benefit of the society, for the organization, and finally for the country too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, ma'am. In fact, you rightly pointed the important parts. Diversity is definitely, we can feel diversity is there, like in our ecosystems, particularly even if you go to tier 2, 3 towns. Equity is definitely, again, as you said, it's a state subject, needs more compliances, more understanding of it by the commoners. And inclusion, the last thing, seems to be very, easy, but I think that's the most difficult thing to practice. So I think as, we are progressing, I'm sure, we are having the footprints of all this DEI agenda in each and every part of our discussions, whether it's a workforce or whether it's a university, academic institution, or any other work setting. So those things are quite palpable nowadays. And as people are getting more and more knowledgeable about the facts, they know about the compliances and rules. I'm sure that the corporate India will definitely, put their heads together and realize this agenda so that we are actually able to, realize like we walk the talk. That should be the, ultimate goal. Thank you very much. And now the house is open for some questions. If there's some questions, and there are many legal practitioners also. And since we are the domain experts, please ask questions. Yeah. Yeah, from the back we can have.
These are law students or law colleges?
Good afternoon to the. My question is for the advocate, Miss Ravi, ma'am. Ma'am, you talk about the transgenders and some provisions of the constitution, but in the Indian Penal Code, the section 376 talk about the rape, but there is no provision in the to the transgender mentioned in this provision. And any
See, law is basically developing on the subject. Like when I was talking about the transgenders, I also talked about a judgment of 2020, As you know, POSH Act, Prevention of Sexual Harassment, it came in the year 2013. Prior to it, it was Vishakha. So 13, the act came, and 2020, interesting case came that if there is a sexual harassment dispute between people of two same genders, can it come under POSH Act or not? And the internal complaint committee was of the view, prima facie view, it cannot, but court said no, it can come into view. So while you're right now 376 means, a crime by a man on a woman, you're right, but law is developing. If such a case goes to court, I am sure a pragmatic view, a broader view that which gives it the true liberal interpretation would definitely be taken. But let me add over here that as per judgments of apex courts, Honorable Supreme Court, it is said that if there are two views possible, then one which is in the larger interest is to be taken. So while 376 as of now does not talk about it specifically, but I'm sure if a case like this comes, it would definitely be extended depending upon what the facts and circumstances of the case are.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. But now also this comes under section 376.
As in this means
if any transgender sexual assault will be there or harassment will be there, that it comes into the section 376.
See, 376 is for graver kind of crimes like rape and all, right?
But
there are other provisions as well.
It's not mentioned yet now.
It is not mentioned yet because when there be a specific case, and even if you see the General Clauses Act, he means she. So like the interpretation is that a larger pragmatic view is to be taken. When there'll be a case like that, when a case like this will be brought up, then probably some amendment will be there, but as of now you are right, it does not say so. And if you go into depth of 376, then it says if the organ is penetrated into women's organs, so that's a very different concept. So without going into the crime of rape, something like rape straightforwardly, without taking that big leap, if we talk about smaller sexual harassment cases which are covered by POSH Act, and we may apply certain provisions of IPC, there yes, courts are taking the view that a broader view will be taken. Maybe not to 376, but to things like molestation, a verbal assault, a physical assault, maybe not rape, but lighter category, yes, as of now, they can be taken. They are covered by virtue of judgments, if not by virtue of provisions.
Ravi, can I add here?
Please, ma'am, please.
Yeah, this Transgender Act refers to the offences and penalties, and it includes physical, sexual, verbal, and emotional abuse also. There is a section in Transgender Act itself. Although the sentence is very minimal, but sexual abuse is covered in the Transgender Act.
Okay.
It is not part of rape, but it is covered in the Transgender Act.
But when punishment is less.
Very less. It's
Yes,
2 years or
it is
something.
very
2
less.
years. Yeah, it is less, but I think it is being taken care of as of now. Even in the present scenario, the sexual molestation, etc., is there. Sentence is very less and not at all equal to rape. That's true, but it has been identified.
Okay, thank you.
Even molestation and all under IPC, yes, they already covered, but rape gets a very different category. So
Transgender Act itself.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can I ask some question to Dr. Rajput?
Yes, please.
My name is S.N. Sharma. I was in USA for 5 months from February to June. And I went to colleges, I went to school, and I went to mosque. No, in USA, it has become a fashion. The boy, suddenly today he is a boy, after a week, he will dress like a girl, and he say, proudly say, please don't call me this, call me, I am a girl, I want to be a girl. Actually, he is a boy. And that has created nuisance. In the mall, when I visited there, if they steal something, the rule is not applied to them, because the rule is soft to them. If they cross the red light, the police will be soft to them. I think it is a nuisance in the USA, and same thing, unfortunately, whether it is dress, apti jean pati hui ho, all ugly thing we are following from the USA and creating imbalance in the society. वो nuisance हो रहा है यहाँ भी आ रहा है. आज लड़का है, कल को अपना वो कांटे वगैरह पहन के नो कॉल मी गर्ल, आई एम ए गर्ल. तो ये चीजें, व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन?
सर, इसमें गर्ल और बॉय की जो आपने करी है, इसके अंदर हमें सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए टू टेक एनी काइंड ऑफ द एक्शन अगेंस्ट दैट पर्सन. आप जैसे कह रहे हैं इसमें लॉ अप्लाई नहीं होता. अगर उसके पास ट्रांस मैन या ट्रांस फीमेल का या ट्रांसजेंडर का सर्टिफिकेट है, अकॉर्डिंगली उसका प्रोसिक्यूशन होगा.
नहीं, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट माय डॉटर इज अ डॉक्टर देयर and she used to tell every day, she used to give consultation to 12 patients. Out of 12, one daily he used to tell, oh, Papa, that boy, he said, no, don't call me boy, I'm girl. And then for examining that patient was very difficult for a doctor. It has become nuisance. आपको मैं प्रैक्टिकल जो चीज मैं देख के आया उसको शेयर कर रहा हूँ, और वो यहाँ इंडिया में भी आ रही है.
सर, इंडिया में भी अगर इस तरह का कॉन्सेप्ट होता है तो सबसे पहले जो इमीडिएट फैमिली है वो उनके काउंसलिंग सेशंस करवाती है. इवन करेक्टिव रेप्स भी होते हैं, दे आर अ पार्ट ऑफ द ट्रीटमेंट. और अगर उनको लगता है कि इनकी जेंडर आइडेंटिटी में प्रॉब्लम है, सो देन दे अलाउ देम टू चेंज द जेंडर. Then they allow, because the first steps, immediate steps, what the family takes, it's a shock for them that, you know, the children are behaving this way. So it is about how you take the things. How you take the things is very, very important. If the family is with such kind of students or with such kind of children, and they identify themselves that no, if he's born like a male, his genitals are like male, but they want to identify themselves as a female, so they go in for some kind of a counseling sessions and corrective rates. So if the things doesn't work out, then probably the family should allow, because it's not an unnatural thing. And the doctor, I've listened to many interviews of the doctors also, they say that it is very, very natural. And that's why the transgender, the act is passed, and this is how it is spreading. But yes, what you are saying, that it has to be controlled under a particular regime, not to create an incivility in the society. So incivilities have to be controlled that way. So some kind of amendment or provisions can be added.
Right, thank you. We can have the last question.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much. I have one question for Mr. Nakul Pathak, sir. So you talked about nano urea, I mean, like taking into consideration the diversity aspect. So my question is as to whether there has been any environmental impact of this assessment of this particular product as such, given its minute size, and what are its environment impacts per se. And sir, in the course of the discussion, I came across this provision, this thing that about section 200C. So I'd like to inform the gathering over here that particular provision has been done away with in the codes, in the labor codes. So that is one thing. And ma'am, you raised a very important issue about laws, there being plenty of laws, but its execution being very difficult. So I seek from you, ma'am, as to what are the areas which makes the execution of laws difficult, and what are the suggestions according to you, being an academician coming from the law legal background. So what are your suggestions in terms of improving on this scenario and making the execution as efficient as it is expected in the law?
Thank you so much for this question. I think this is the most important question as to how, well, there are no dearth of laws, how do we implement them? So like I said, everything I believe should be, of course, under CCTV, and yes, there should be website-based compliances. Areas, if you see where there are not compliances everywhere, labor, municipal corporations, cleanliness, sanitation, transgenders, or women issues, or disability issues everywhere. So I think the best way to come out is we should have website-based compliances. If somebody has an issue, post on the website. The answer should come on the website. What remedy has been taken should come on the website. Every solution should be made time bound. That's the key. It shouldn't be open-ended कि ठीक है साल 2 साल तक problem चल रही है. No, solve a problem within 3 months. If you cannot do it within 3 months, take more time. Give a reasoning for condemnation. If you still haven't been able to solve, write on the website. The official concern of the government should write on the website why he has not been able to solve. What's stopping him? So let the public see, let the government see, let there be tagging like green tag, problem solved, yellow tag, under process, red tag, it can't be solved. Let the supervisor of the person who is solving the problem see why it is not done, and let there be everything in writing on the website which the public can see why it was done, why it was not done. Second most important thing, I think, the most pragmatic way to run this country is the disciplinary action, the kind of population we have. So give memos, warning, charge sheets, take disciplinary action against errant officials, against non-performers, those who do not remedy problem of the general public. So disciplinary action and website based, let everything be transparent. That I think is a solution. One more thing you pointed about 200C in the labor codes. Yes, I agree. But only thing is, when would those labor codes come? As per current laws, 200C is still existing. But yes, whenever those two labor codes are brought into effect, we'll be happy to note that 200C is gone.
Thank you, Stuart. No, in fact, I am sure there will be a lot of questions. We are having, our domain experts during with our lunchtime also.
Let me clear his doubt about the environmental impact of nano urea. The testing was done at 11,000 locations, and the universities, agriculture universities, and they were involved. And the use efficiency of normal urea, I said, is only 30%. If you put 100 kg urea, only 30 kg is uptake by the plant, rest 70 kg is going to pollute. And here, use efficiency is close to 90%. And in 500 bottle, 1-2 gram will be left. Now you imagine the 100 kg, the 70 kg going to pollute the environment, and here 1 gram, going, because use efficiency is so high. 90% is uptake by the plant, because it is through foliar application. It is sprayed on the leaves and then plant uptakes. Here it, it is put in the roots, and then, so that is the type of difference. So biggest advantage of having nano urea is for environment.
Thank you, sir. Simona will have, in fact, rest of the discussion after during lunchtime, in fact. Yeah. Just for 30 seconds, sir.
The subject is so interesting that there could be n number of questions. But now I would like to say, I would like to only make an observation. For the first time, I am seeing in a conference, ladies outnumbering men on the dais. And they have spoken so with such clarity, forcefully, and with such passion. I am really impressed.
Yes.
Honor to the ladies. Thank you.
So with this note, I'll request Mr. Nakul Pathak, our co-chair, to kindly felicitate our speakers and domain experts with a plant and memento. You can start with Ms. Shweta Berry on your left.
Very nice presentation. Beautiful presentation. इधर अच्छा वहां से
Okay, momentum.
Thank you. Privilege and a pleasure. So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.
So thank you very much indeed. In fact, I'm sure that there are a lot of questions, other things also. So anything related to topic, kindly post us your observations, your sort of inferences or your interpretations. And in fact, we'll be doing our next edition in the month of March. So what all new things can be added in it, just let us know. We'll be very, very thankful to you. And the entire session has been on YouTube. At any point in time, you can refer back to the YouTube channel. Just put Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, PhD Chamber. You will get the entire recording in the YouTube itself. Thank you very much. Thanks for being very, very patient delegates. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And we'll have a group photo.
Thank you.
So why से एक ले ले चलिए बाद में हाँ सर उसको भेज दीजिए
I request the students of Lloyd College to kindly come here and collect your certificates, and also NDIIT, Nehru Place. So can I have a photo opportunity? White college?
Spoke very well. It was amazing listening to you. And I have one interesting observation I'm going to share with you. I just came back from Bangalore and I was staying at Lalit. What Lalit has done is they're very, very inclusive. So you see transgenders at the reception there. And what they have done, especially for the restrooms, is rather than male and female, what phenotypes are very important. So they have put one, and I can show this to you. Let me just show this to you. What they have done is they have put standing and sitting.
NDIIT.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
how you want to
You are a part of us. Excellent. Actually, in a chat, I listen to your conversation.